Preface to Hours of Idleness. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Hours of Idleness by George Gordon, Lord Byron. Preface. In submitting to the public eye the following collection, I have not only to combat the difficulties that writers of verse generally encounter, but may incur the charge of presumption for obtruding myself on the world when, without doubt, I might be at my age more usefully employed. These productions are the fruits of the lighter hours of a young man who has lately completed his 19th year. As they bear little internal evidence of a boyish mind, this is perhaps unnecessary information. Some few were written during the disadvantages of illness and depression of spirits. Under the former influence, Childish Recollections in particular were composed. This consideration, though it cannot excite the voice of praise, may at least arrest the arm of censure. A considerable portion of these poems has been privately printed at the request and for the perusal of my friends. I am sensible that the partial and frequently injudicious admiration of a social circle is not the criterion by which poetical genius is to be estimated. Yet to do greatly we must dare greatly, and I have hazarded my reputation and feelings in publishing this volume. I have passed the Rubicon, and must stand or fall by the cast of the die. In the latter event I shall submit without murmur, for, though not without solicitude for the fate of my effusions, my expectations are by no means sanguine. With slight hopes and some fears, I publish this first and last attempt. To the dictates of young ambition may be ascribed many actions more criminal and equally absurd. To a few of my own age, the contents may afford some amusement. I trust they will at least be found harmless. It is highly improbable from my situation and pursuits hereafter that I should ever obtrude myself a second time on the public, nor even, in the very doubtful event of present indulgence, shall I be tempted to commit a future trespass of the same nature. The opinion of Dr. Johnson on the poems of a noble relation of mine, that when a man of rank appeared in the character of an author, his merit should be handsomely acknowledged, can have little weight with verbal and still less periodical censors, but were it otherwise I should be loath to avail myself of the privilege, and would rather incur the bitterest censure of anonymous criticism than triumph in honours granted solely to a title. End of Preface. On Leaving Newstead Abbey by George Gordon, Lord Byron. Read for LibriVox.org by Alan Mapstone. Why dost thou build the hall, son of the winged days? Thou lookest from thy tower today, yet a few years, and the blast of the desert comes, it howls in thy empty court. Ossian. Through thy battlements, Newstead, the hollow winds whistle. Thou, the hall of my fathers, are gone to decay. In thy once smiling garden, the hemlock and the thistle have choked up the rose which late bloomed in the way. Of the mail-covered barons who proudly to battle led their vassals from Europe to Palestine's plain, the escutcheon and shield, which with every blast rattle, are the only sad vestiges now that remain. No more doth old Robert, with harp-stringing numbers, raise a flame in the breast for the war-laurelled wreath. Near Ascalon's towers, John of Horiston slumbers, unnerved is the hand of his minstrel by death. Paul and Hubert too sleep in the valley of Cressy. For the safety of Edward and England they fell. My fathers, the tears of your country redress you. How you fought, how you died, still her annals can tell. O Marston with Rupert, 'gainst traitors contending, 4 brothers enriched with their blood the bleak field, for the rights of a monarch, their country defending, till death their attachment to royalty sealed. Shades of heroes, farewell! Your descendant departing from the seat of his ancestors bids you adieu. Abroad or at home, your remembrance imparting, new courage he'll think upon glory and you. Though a tear dim his eye at this sad separation, 'tis nature, not fear, that excites his regret. Far distant he goes with the same emulation, the fame of his fathers he ne'er can forget. That fame and that memory still will he cherish. He vows that he ne'er will disgrace your renown. Like you will he live, or like you will he perish. When decayed, may he mingle his dust with your own. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. On a distant view of the village and school of Harrow on the hill, by George Gordon Lord Byron. Read for LibriVox.org by Alan Mapstone. O mihi praeteritos referat si Jupiter annos. Ye scenes of my childhood, whose loved recollection embitters the present compared with the past, where science first dawned on the powers of reflection, and friendships were formed too romantic to last, where fancy yet joys to retrace the resemblance of comrades in friendship and mischief allied. How welcome to me your ne'er fading remembrance, which rests in the bosom, though hope is denied. Again I revisit the hills where we sported, the streams where we swam, and the fields where we fought, the school where loud warned by the bell we resorted to pore o'er the precepts by pedagogues taught. Again I behold where for hours I have pondered, as reclining at eve on yon tombstone I lay, or round the steep brow of the churchyard I wandered, to catch the last gleam of the sun's setting ray. Once more view the room with spectators surrounded, where Zanga I trod on Alonzo's o'erthrown, while to swell my young pride such applauses resounded, I fancied that Mossop himself was outshone. Or as Lear I poured forth the deep imprecation by my daughters of kingdom and reason deprived, till fired by loud plaudits and self-adulation, I regarded myself as a Garrick revived. Ye dreams of my boyhood, how much I regret you. Unfaded your memory dwells in my breast. Though sad and deserted, I ne'er can forget you. Your pleasures may still be in fancy possessed. To Ida full oft may remembrance restore me, while fate shall the shades of the future unroll. Since darkness o'ershadows the prospect before me, more dear is the beam of the past to my soul. But if through the course of the years which await me, some new scene of pleasure should open to view, I will say, while with rapture the thought shall elate me, oh, such were the days which my infancy knew. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Epitaph on a Friend by George Gordon Lord Byron. Read for LibriVox.org by Quartertone. O friend, forever loved, forever dear, What fruitless tears have bathed thy honoured bier? What sighs re-echoed to thy parting breath, while thou wast struggling in the pangs of death? Could tears retard the tyrant in his course? Could sighs avert his dart's relentless force? Could youth and virtue claim a short delay, or beauty charm the spectre from his prey? Thou still hadst lived to bless my aching sight, thy comrade's honour, and thy friend's delight. If yet thy gentle spirit hover nigh the spot where now thy mouldering ashes lie, here wilt thou read, recorded on my heart, a grief too deep to trust the sculptor's art. No marble marks thy couch of lowly sleep, but living statues there are seen to weep. Affliction's semblance bends not over thy tomb, affliction's self deplores thy youthful doom. What though thy sire lament his failing line, a father's sorrows cannot equal mine. Though none like thee his dying hour will cheer, yet other offspring soothe his anguish here. But who with me shall hold thy former place? Thine image what new friendship can efface? Ah, none! A father's tears will cease to flow. Time will assuage an infant brother's woe. To all save one is consolation known, while solitary friendship sighs alone. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. A Fragment by George Gordon, Lord Byron. Read for LibriVox.org by Quartertone. When to their airy hall my father's voice shall call my spirit joyful in their choice, when poised upon the gale my form shall ride, or dark in mist descend the mountain's side, oh, may my shade behold no sculptured urns to mark the spot where earth to earth returns, no lengthened scroll of virtue and renown, my epitaph shall be my name alone. If that with honour fail to crown my clay, oh, may no other fame my deeds repay. That, only that, shall single out the spot, by that remembered, or with that forgot. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Tear by George Gordon, Lord Byron. Read for LibriVox.org by Alan Lawley. The Tear. O lacrimarum vons tenero sacros decitium ortus ex animo quaeta felix in emo quae scatenum pectora te pia nympha sensit. Gray. When friendship or love our sympathies move, when truth in a glance should appear, the lips may beguile with a dimple or smile, but the test of affection's a tear. Too oft is a smile but the hypocrite's wile to mask detestation or fear. Give me the soft sigh, whilst the soul-telling eye is dimmed for a time with a tear. Mild charity's glow to us mortals below shews the soul from barbarity clear. Compassion will melt where this virtue is felt, and its dew is diffused in a tear. The man doomed to sail with the blast of the gale, through billows Atlantic to steer, as he bends o'er the wave, which may soon be his grave. The green sparkles, bright with a tear. The soldier braves death for a fanciful wreath in glory's romantic career. But he raises the foe when in battle laid low, and bathes every wound with a tear. If with high-bounding pride he return to his bride, renouncing the gore-crimson spear, all his toils are repaid, when, embracing the maid, from her eyelid he kisses the tear. Sweet scene of my youth, seat of friendship and truth, where love chased each fast fleeting year. Loath to leave thee, I mourned, for last look I turned, but thy spire was scarce seen through a tear. Though my vows I can pour to my Mary no more, my Mary, to love once so dear, in the shade of her bower I remember the hour she rewarded those vows with a tear. By another passed, may she live ever blessed. Her name still my heart must revere. With a sigh I resign what I once thought was mine, and forgive her deceit with a tear. Ye friends of my heart, ere from you I depart, this hope to my breast is most near. If again we shall meet in this rural retreat, may we meet as we part with a tear. When my soul wings her flight to the regions of night, and my corse shall recline on its bier, as ye pass by the tomb where my ashes consume, oh, moisten their dust with a tear. May no marble bestow the splendor of woe, which the children of vanity rear. No fiction of fame shall blazon my name. All I ask, all I wish, is a tear. 1806. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
An Occasional Prologue by George Gordon, Lord Byron. Read for LibriVox.org by Deanna Lee. Delivered previous to the performance of The Wheel of Fortune at a private theatre. Since the refinement of this polished age has swept immoral raillery from the stage, since taste has now expunged licentious wit, which stamped disgrace on all an author writ, since now to please with purer scenes we seek, nor dear to call the blush from beauty's cheek. Oh, let the modest muse some pity claim, and meet indulgence though she find not fame. Still, not for her alone we wish respect. Others appear more conscious of defect. Tonight no veteran rosé you behold, in all the arts of scenic action old. No Cook, no Kimball can salute you here, no Siddons draw the sympathetic tear. Tonight you throng to witness the debut of embryo actors to the drama new. Here then our almost unfledged wings we try, clip not our pinions ere the birds can fly. Failing in this our first attempt to soar, drooping, alas, we fall to rise no more. Not one poor trembler only fear betrays, who hopes yet almost dreads to meet your praise. But all our dramatis personae wait in fond suspense this crisis of their fate. No venal views our progress can retard, your generous plaudits are our sole reward. For these each hero all his power displays, each timid heroine shrinks before your gaze. Surely the last will some protection find, none to the softer sex can prove unkind. Whilst youth and beauty form the female shield, the sternest censor to the fair must yield. Yet, should our feeble efforts not avail, should, after all, our best endeavours fail, still let some mercy in your bosoms live, and if you can't applaud, at least forgive. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
On the Death of Mr. Fox by George Gordon Lord Byron. Read for LibriVox.org by Alan Mapstone. The following illiberal impromptu appeared in a morning paper. Our nation's foes lament on Fox's death, but bless the hour when Pitt resigned his breath. These feelings wide let sense and truth unclue. We give the palm where justice points its due. To which the author of these pieces sent the following reply. O factious viper, whose envenomed tooth would mangle still the dead, perverting truth. What though our nation's foe lament the fate, with generous feeling, of the good and great? Shall dastard tongues essay to blast the name of him whose meed exists in endless fame? When Pitt expired in plenitude of power, though ill success obscured his dying hour, pity her dewy wings before him spread, for noble spirits war not with the dead. His friends in tears a last sad requiem gave, as all his errors slumbered in the grave. He sunk, an Atlas bending 'neath the weight of cares o'erwhelming our conflicting state. When lo, a Hercules in Fox appeared, who for a time the ruined fabric reared. He too is fallen who Britain's loss supplied. With him our fast reviving hopes have died. Not one great people only raise his urn, all Europe's far extended regions mourn. These feelings wide let sense and truth unclue, to give the palm where justice points its due. Yet let not cankered calumny assail, or round our statesman wind her gloomy veil. Fox, o'er whose course a mourning world must weep, whose dear remains in honoured marble sleep, for whom at last e'en hostile nations groan, while friends and foes alike his talents own. Fox shall in Britain's future annals shine, nor e'en to Pitt the patriot's palm resign, which envy-wearing candour's sacred mask, for Pitt and Pitt alone has dared to ask. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Stanzas to a Lady, with the Poems of Camoens, by George Gordon, Lord Byron. Read for LibriVox.org by Kevin S. This votive pledge of fond esteem, perhaps, dear girl, for me thou'lt prize. It sings of love's enchanting dream, a theme we can never despise. Who blames it but the envious fool, the old and disappointed maid, or pupil of the prudish school, in single sorrow doomed to fade? Then read, dear girl, with feeling read, for thou wilt never be one of those. To thee in vain I shall not plead in pity for the poet's woes. He was in sooth a genuine bard, his was no faint fictitious flame. Like him, may love be thy reward, but not thy hapless fate the same. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The First Kiss of Love by George Gordon, Lord Byron. Read for LibriVox.org by Larry Wilson. Abarbatos de hordes erota munon ehae. Anacreon. Away with your fictions of flimsy romance, those tissues of falsehood which folly has wove. Give me the mild beam of the soul-breathing glance, or the rapture which dwells on the first kiss of love. Ye rhymers whose bosoms with fantasy glow, whose pastoral passions are made for the grove, from what blest inspiration your sonnets would flow, could you ever have tasted the first kiss of love? If Apollo should e'er his assistance refuse, or the Nine be disposed from your service to rove, invoke them no more, bid adieu to the Muse, and try the effect of the first kiss of love. I hate you, ye cold compositions of art. Though prudes may condemn me, and bigots reprove, I court the effusions that spring from the heart, which throbs with delight to the first kiss of love. Your shepherds, your flocks, those fantastical themes, perhaps, may amuse, yet they never can move. Arcadia displays but a region of dreams. What are visions like these to the first kiss of love? Oh, cease to affirm that man since his birth, from Adam till now, has with wretchedness strove. Some portion of paradise still is on earth, and Eden revives in the first kiss of love. When age chills the blood, when our pleasures are past, for years fleet away with the wings of the dove, the dearest remembrance will still be the last, our sweetest memorial, the first kiss of love. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
To M by George Gordon, Lord Byron. Read for LibriVox.org by Hope. Oh, did those eyes, instead of fire, with bright but mild affection shine, though they might kindle less desire, love more than mortal would be thine. For thou art formed so heavenly fair, however those orbs may wildly beam, we must admire, but still despair. That fatal glance forbids esteem. When nature stamped thy beauteous birth, so much perfection in thee shone, she feared that, too divine for earth, the skies might claim thee for their own. Therefore, to guard her dearest work, lest angels might dispute the prize, she bade a secret lightning lurk within those once celestial eyes. These might the boldest sylph appall, when gleaming with meridian blaze, thy beauty must enrapture all. But who can dare thine ardent gaze? 'Tis said that Bernice's hair in stars adorns the vault of heaven, but thy would ne'er permit thee there, thou wouldst so far outshine the seven. For did those eyes as planets roll, thy sister lights would scarce appear, even suns which systems now control would twinkle dimly through their sphere. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. To a Woman by George Gordon, Lord Byron. Read for LibriVox.org by Hope. Woman, experience might have told me that all must love thee who behold thee. Surely experience might have taught thy firmest promises are not. But placed in all thy charms before me, all I forget but to adore thee. O memory, thou choicest blessing, when joined with hope, when still possessing. But how much cursed by every lover, when hope is fled and passion's over. Woman, that fair and fond deceiver, how prompt are striplings to believe her. How throbs the pulse when first we view the eye that rolls in glossy blue, or sparks black, or mildly throws a beam from under hazel brows. How quick we credit every oath, and hear her plight, the willing troth. Fondly we hope 'twill last for aye, when lo she changes in a day. This record will forever stand. Woman, thy vows are traced in sand. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. To M.S.G. by George Gordon, Lord Byron. Read for LibriVox.org by Hope. When I dream that you love me, you'll surely forgive. Extend not your anger to sleep, for in visions alone your affection can live. I rise and it leaves me to weep. Then, Morpheus, envelop my faculties fast. Shed o'er me your languor benign. Should the dream of tonight but resemble the last, what rapture celestial is mine? They tell us that slumber, the sister of death, mortality's emblem is given. To fate how I long to resign my frail breath, if this be a foretaste of heaven. Ah, frown not, sweet lady, unbend your soft brow, nor deem me too happy in this. If I sin in my dream, I atone for it now. Thus doomed but to gaze upon bliss. Though in vision, sweet lady, perhaps you may smile. Oh, think not my penance deficient, when dreams of your presence my slumbers beguile. To awake will be torture sufficient. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
To a Beautiful Quaker by George Gordon, Lord Byron. Read for LibriVox.org by Wesley Dimery. Sweet girl, though only once we met, that meeting I shall ne'er forget. And though we ne'er may meet again, remembrance will thy form retain. I would not say I love, but still my senses struggle with my will, in vain to drive thee from my breast. My thoughts are more and more repressed. In vain I check the rising sighs. Another to the last replies, perhaps this is not love, but yet our meeting I can never forget. What, though we never silence broke? Our eyes a sweeter language spoke, and tongue in flattering falsehood deals, and tells a tale it never feels. Deceit the guilty lips impart, and hush the mandates of the heart. But soul's interpreters, the eyes, spurn such restraint and scorn disguise. As thus our glances oft conversed, and all our bosoms felt rehearsed, no spirit from within reproved us. Say rather, 'twas the spirit moved us. Though what they uttered I repress, yet I conceive, thou partly guess. For, as on thee my memory ponders, perchance to me thine also wonders. This, for myself, at least, I'll say, thy form appears through night, through day. Awake, with it my fancy teems, in sleep it smiles in fleeting dreams. The vision charms the hours away, and bids me curse Aurora's ray, for breaking slumbers of delight, which make me wish for endless night. Since, oh, whate'er my future fate, shall joy or woe my steps await, tempted by love, by storms beset, thine image I can ne'er forget. Alas, again no more we meet, no more our former looks repeat. Then let me breathe this parting prayer, the dictate of my bosom's care. May heaven so guard my lovely Quaker, that anguish can never o'ertake her, that peace and virtue ne'er forsake her, but bliss be I her heart's partaker. Oh, may the happy mortal, fated to be by dearest ties related, for her each hour new joy discover, and lose the husband in the lover. May that fair bosom never know what 'tis to feel the restless woe, which stings the soul with vain regret of him who never can forget. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. 2 by George Gordon, Lord Byron. Read for LibriVox.org by Wesley Dimery. Oh, yes, I will own we were dear to each other. The friendships of childhood, though fleeting, are true. The love which you felt was the love of a brother, nor less the affection I cherished for you. But friendship can vary her gentle dominion. The attachment of years in a moment expires. Like love, too, she moves on a swift waving pinion, but glows not, like love, with unquenchable fires. Full oft have we wandered through Ida together, and blessed were the scenes of our youth, I allow. In the spring of our life how serene is the weather, but winter's rude tempests are gathering now. No more with affection shall memory, blending, the wonted delights of a childhood retrace. When pride steals the bosom, the heart is unbending, and what would be justice appears a disgrace. However, dear S., for I still must esteem you, the few whom I love I can never upbraid. The chance which has lost may in future redeem you. Repentance will cancel the vow you have made. I will not complain, and though chilled is affection, with me no corroding resentment shall live. My bosom is calmed by the simple reflection that both may be wrong, and that both should forgive. You knew that my soul, that my heart, my existence, if danger demanded, were wholly your own. You knew me unaltered, by years or by distance, devoted to love and to friendship alone. You knew, but away with the vain retrospection. The bond of affection no longer endures. Too late you may droop o'er the fond recollection, and sigh for the friend who was formerly yours. For the present we part. I will hope not forever, for time and regret will restore you at last. To forget our dissension we both should endeavor. I ask no atonement, but days like the past. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
To Mary, on receiving her picture, by George Gordon, Lord Byron. Read for LibriVox.org by EODOD. This faint resemblance of thy charms, though strong as mortal art could give, my constant heart of fear disarms, revives my hopes, and bids me live. Here I can trace the locks of gold, which down thy snowy forehead wave, the cheeks, which sprang from beauty's mold, the lips, which made me beauty's slave. Here I can trace, that eye, whose azure floats in liquid fire, must all the painter's art defy, and bid him from the task retire. Here I behold its beauteous hue, but where's the beam so sweetly straying, which gave a luster to its blue, like Luna o'er the ocean playing? Sweet copy, far more dear to me, lifeless, unfeeling as thou art, than all the living forms could be, save her who placed thee next my heart. She placed it, sad, with needless fear, lest time might shake my wavering soul, unconscious that her image there held every sense in fast control. Through hours, through years, through time, 'twill cheer my hope in gloomy moments raise. In life's last conflict 'twill appear, and meet my fond, expiring gaze. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Love's Last Adieu by George Gordon, Lord Byron. Read for LibriVox.org. The roses of love, glad the garden of life, though nurtured mid weeds, dropping pestilent dew, till time crops the leaves with unmerciful knife, or prunes them forever in love's last adieu. In vain with endearments we soothe the sad heart, in vain do we vow for an age to be true. The chance of an hour may command us to part, or death disunite us in love's last adieu. Still hope, breathing peace through the grief's swollen breast, will whisper, our meeting we yet may renew. With this dream of deceit, half our sorrows repressed, nor taste we the poison of love's last adieu. O mark you yon pair, in the sunshine of youth, love twined round their childhood, his flowers as they grew. They flourish a while in the season of truth, till chilled by the winter of love's last adieu. Sweet lady, why thus doth a tear steal its way down a cheek which outrivals thy bosom in hue? Yet why do I ask, to distraction a prey? Thy reason has perished with love's last adieu. O who is yon misanthrope, shunning mankind? From cities to caves of the forest he flew. There, raving, he howls his complaint to the wind. The mountains reverberate love's last adieu. Now hate rules a heart, which in love's easy chains once passion's tumultuous blandishments knew. Despair now inflames the dark tide of his veins. He ponders in frenzy on love's last adieu. How he envies the wretch with a soul wrapped in steel. His pleasures are scarce, yet his troubles are few. Who laughs at the pang that he never can feel, and dreads not the anguish of love's last adieu. Youth flies, life decays, even hope is o'ercast. No more with love's former devotion we sue. He spreads his young wing, he retires with the blast. The shroud of affliction is love's last adieu. In this life of probation, for rapture divine, Astrea declares that some penance is due from him who has worshipped at love's gentle shrine. The atonement is ample in love's last adieu. Who kneels to God on his altar of light must myrtle and cypress alternately strew. His myrtle, an emblem of purest delight, his cypress, the garland of love's last adieu. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Damaetas by George Gordon, Lord Byron. Read for LibriVox.org by Deanna Lee. In law an infant, and in years a boy, in mind a slave to every vicious joy, from every sense of shame and virtue weaned, in lies an adept, in deceit a fiend. Versed in hypocrisy, while yet a child, fickle as wind, of inclinations wild, woman his dupe, his heedless friend a tool, old in the world, though scarcely broke from school. Damaetas ran through all the maze of sin, and found the goal when others just begin. Even still conflicting passions shake his soul, and bid him drain the dregs of pleasure's bowl. But pallid with vice, he breaks his former chain, and what was once his bliss appears his bane. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
To Marion, by George Gordon, Lord Byron. Read for LibriVox.org by Kevin S. To Marion. Marion, why that pensive brow? What disgust to life hast thou? Change that discontented air, frowns become not one so fair. 'Tis not love disturbs thy rest, love's a stranger to thy breast. He in dimpling smiles appears, or mourns in sweetly timid tears, or bends the languid eyelid down, but shuns the cold, forbidding frown. Then resume thy former fire, some will love and all admire, while that icy aspect chills us, naught but cool indifference thrills us. Wouldst thou, wandering hearts beguile? Smile at least, or seem to smile. Eyes like thine were never meant to hide their orbs in dark restraint. Spite of all thou fain wouldst say, still in truant beams they play. Thy lips, but hear my modest muse, her impulse chaste must needs refuse. She blushes, curtsies, frowns. In short, she dreads, lest the subject should transport me, and flying off in search of reason, brings prudence back in proper season. All I shall therefore say, whate'er I think is neither here nor there, is that such lips of looks endearing were formed for better things than sneering, or soothing compliments divested, advice at least disinterested. Such is my artless song to thee, from all the flow of flattery free. Counsel like mine is as a brother's, my heart is given to some others. That is to say, unskilled to cozen, it shares itself amongst a dozen. Marion, adieu. O prithee, slight not this warning, though it may delight not, unless my precepts be displeasing to those who think remonstrance teasing. At once I'll tell thee our opinion concerning woman's soft dominion. Howe'er we gaze with admiration on eyes of blue or lips carnation, howe'er the flowing locks attract us, howe'er those beauties may distract us, still fickle we are prone to rove. These cannot fix our souls to love. It is not too severe a stricture to say they form a pretty picture. But wouldst thou see the secret chain which binds us in your humble train, to hail you queens of all creation? Know, in a word, 'tis animation. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Oscar of Alva by George Gordon, Lord Byron. Read for LibriVox.org by C. Dixon, 2022. How sweetly shines, through azure skies, the lamp of heaven on Laura's shore, where Alva's hoary turrets rise, and hear the din of arms no more. But often has yon rolling moon on Alva's casques of silver played, and viewed, at midnight's silent noon, her chiefs in gleaming mail arrayed, and, on the crimsoned rocks beneath, which scowl o'er ocean's sullen flow, pale in the scattered ranks of death, she viewed the gasping warrior low, while many an eye, which ne'er again could view the rising orb of day, turned feebly from the gory plain, beheld in death her fading ray. Once, to those eyes the lamp of love, they blessed her dear propitious light, but now she glimmered from above, a sad funeral torch of night. Faded is Alva's noble race, and gray her towers are seen afar. No more her heroes urge the chase, or roll the crimson tide of war. But who was last of Alva's clan? Why grows the moss on Alva's stone? Her towers resound no steps of man, they echo to the gale alone. And when that gale is fierce and high, a sound is heard in yonder hall. It rises hoarsely through the sky, and vibrates o'er the mouldering wall. Yes, when the eddying tempest sighs, it shakes the shield of Oscar brave, but, there no more his banners rise, no more his plumes of sable wave. Fair shone the sun on Oscar's birth, when Angus hailed his eldest born. The vassals round their chieftain's hearth crowd to applaud the happy morn. They feast upon the mountain deer. The pibroch raised its piercing note, to gladden more their highland cheer. The strains and martial numbers float. And they, who heard the war notes wild, hoped that, one day, the pibroch strain should play before the hero's child, while he should lead the tartan train. Another year is quickly past, and Angus hails another son. His natal day is like the last, nor soon the jocund feast was done. Taught by their sire to bend the bow on Alva's dusky hills of wind, the boys in childhood chased the roe, and left their hounds in speed behind. But ere their years of youth are o'er, they mingle in the ranks of war. They lightly wield the bright claymore, and send the whistling arrow far. Dark was the flow of Oscar's hair, wildly it streamed along the gale. But Alan's locks were bright and fair, and pensive seemed his cheek and pale. But Oscar owned a hero's soul. His dark eye shone through beams of truth. Alan had early learned control, and smooth his words had been from youth. Both were brave. The Saxon spear was shivered oft beneath their steel, and Oscar's bosom scorned to fear, but Oscar's bosom knew to feel. While Alan's soul belied his form, unworthy with such charms to dwell, keen as the lightning of the storm, on foes his deadly vengeance fell. From high Southanon's distant tower arrived a young and noble dame, with Kenneth's lands to form her dower. Glenalvan's blue-eyed daughter came, and Oscar claimed the beauteous bride, and Angus on his Oscar smiled. It soothed the father's feudal pride, thus to obtain Glenalvan's child. Hark to the pibroch's pleasing note, hark to the swelling nuptial song. In joyous strains the voices float, and still the choral peal prolong. See how the heroes' blood-red plumes assembled wave in Alva's hall. Each youth his varied plaid assumes, attending on their chieftain's call. It is not war their aid demands. The pibroch plays the song of peace. To Oscar's nuptials throng the bands, nor yet the sounds of pleasure cease. But where is Oscar? Sure, 'tis late. Is this a bridegroom's ardent flame? While thronging guests and ladies wait, nor Oscar nor his brother came. At length young Alan joined the bride. Why comes not Oscar? Angus said. Is he not here? The youth replied. With me he roved not o'er the glade. Perchance, forgetful of the day, 'tis his to chase the bounding roe, or ocean's wave prolong his stay. Yet Oscar's bark is seldom slow. Oh no, the anguished sire rejoined, nor chase nor wave my boy delay. Would he to Mora seem unkind? Would aught to her impede his way? Oh, search, ye chiefs, oh, search around. Alan, with these, through Alva fly, till Oscar, till my son is found. Haste, haste, nor dare attempt reply. All is confusion through the veil. The name of Oscar hoarsely rings. It rises on the murmuring gale, till night expands her dusky wings. It breaks the stillness of the night, but echoes through her shades in vain. It sounds through morning's misty light, but Oscar comes not o'er the plain. 3 days, 3 sleepless nights, the chief for Oscar searched each mountain cave. Then hope is lost, and boundless grief his locks in grey-torn ringlets wave. Oscar, my son, thou God of heaven, restore the prop of sinking age, or, if that hope no more is given, yield his assassin to my rage. Yes, on some desert rocky shore my Oscar's whitened bones must lie. Then grant, thou God, I ask no more, with him his frantic sire may die. Yet he may live, away despair. Be calm, my soul, he yet may live. To arraign my fate, my voice forbear. O God, my impious prayer forgive. What, if he live, for me no more? I sink forgotten in the dust. the hope of Alva's age is o'er. Alas, can pangs like these be just? Thus did the hapless parent mourn, till time, who soothes severest woe, had bade serenity return, and made the teardrops cease to flow. For still some latent hope survived, that Oscar might once more appear. His hope now drooped and now revived, till time had told a tedious year. Days rolled along, the orb of light again had run his destined race. No Oscar blessed his father's sight, and sorrow left a fainter trace. For youthful Alan still remained, and now his father's only joy, and Mora's heart was quickly gained, for beauty crowned the fair-haired boy. She thought that Oscar low was laid, and Alan's face was wondrous fair. If Oscar lived, some other maid had claimed his faithless bosom's care. And Angus said, if 1 year more in fruitless hope was passed away, his fondest scruples should be o'er, and he would name their nuptial day. Slow rolled the moons, but blessed at last arrived the dearly destined morn. The year of anxious trembling past, with smiles the lover's cheeks adorn. Hark to the pibroch's pleasing note, hark to the swelling nuptial song. In joyous strains the voices float, and still the choral peal prolong. Again the clan and festive crowd throng through the gate of Alva's hall. The sounds of mirth re-echo loud, and all their former joy recall. But who is he, whose darkened brow glooms in the midst of general mirth? Before his eyes far fiercer glow, the blue flames curdle o'er the hearth. Dark is the robe which wraps his form, and tall his plume of gory red. His voice is like the rising storm, but light and trackless is his tread. 'Tis noon of night, the pledge goes round, the bridegroom's health is deeply quaffed. With shouts the vaulted roofs resound, and all combine to hail the draught. Sudden the stranger chief arose, and all the clamorous crowds are hushed. And Angus' cheeks with wonder glows, and Mora's tender bosom blushed. Old man, he cried, this pledge is done. Thou sawest, 'twas duly drank by me. It held the nuptials of thy son. Now I will claim a pledge from thee. While all around is mirth and joy, to bless thy Alan's happy lot. Say, hadst thou ne'er another boy? Say, why should Oscar be forgot? Alas, the hapless sire replied, the big tears starting as he spoke. When Oscar left my hall, or died, this aged heart was almost broke. Thrice has the earth revolved her course, since Oscar's form has blessed my sight. And Alan is my last resource, since martial Oscar's death or flight. 'Tis well, replied the stranger stern, and fiercely flashed his rolling eye. Thy Oscar's fate I fain would learn. Perhaps the hero did not die. Perchance, if those whom most he loved would call, thy Oscar might return. Perchance the chief has only roved. For him thy Beltane yet may burn. Fill high the bowl, the table round. We will not claim the pledge by stealth. With wine let every cup be crowned. Pledge me, departed Oscar's health. With all my soul, old Angus said, and filled his goblet to the brim. Here's to my boy, alive or dead. I ne'er shall find a son like him. Bravely, old man, this health has sped. But why does Alan trembling stand? Come, drink remembrance of the dead, and raise thy cup with firmer hand. The crimson glow of Alan's face was turned at once to ghastly hue. The drops of death each other chase, adown an agonizing dew. Thrice did he raise the goblet high, and thrice his lips refused to taste, for thrice he caught the stranger's eye on his with deadly fury placed. And is it thus a brother hails, a brother's fond remembrance here? If thus affection's strength prevails, what might we not expect from fear? Roused by the sneer, he raised the bowl. Would Oscar now could share our mirth? Eternal fears appalled his soul, he said, and dashed the cup to earth. 'Tis he, I hear my murderer's voice. Loud shrieks a darkly gleaming form. A murderer's voice, the roof replies, and deeply swells the bursting storm. The tapers wink, the chieftains shrink, the stranger's gone. Amidst the crew, a form was seen in tartan green, and tall the shade terrific grew. His waist was bound with a broad belt round, his plume of sable streamed on high, but his breast was bare with the red wounds there, and fixed was the glare of his glassy eye. And thrice he smiled, with his eye so wild, on Angus bending low the knee. And thrice he frowned on a chief on the ground, whom shivering crowds with horror see. The bolts loud roll from pole to pole, the thunders through the welkin ring, and the gleaming form through the mist of the storm was borne on high by the whirlwind's wing. Cold was the feast, the revel ceased. Who lies upon the stony floor? Old Angus pressed the earth with his breast. At length his life pulse throbs once more. Away, away, let the leech essay to pour the light on Allen's eyes. His sand is done, his race is run. Oh, never more shall Allen rise. But Oscar's breast is cold as clay, his locks are lifted by the gale, and Allen's barbed arrow lay with him in dark Glentenor's vale. And whence the dreadful stranger came, or who, no mortal wight can tell, but no one doubts the form of flame, for Alva's sons knew Oscar well. Ambition nerved young Allen's hand, exulting demons winged his dart, while envy waved her burning brand, and poured her venom round his heart. Swift is the shaft from Allen's bow, whose streaming lifeblood stains his side. Dark Oscar's sable crest is low, the dart has drank his vital tide. And more as eye could Allen move, she bade his wounded pride rebel. Alas, that eyes, which beamed with love, should urge the soul to deeds of hell. Lo, seest thou not a lonely tomb, which rises o'er a warrior dead? It glimmers through the twilight gloom. Oh, that is Allen's nuptial bed. Far, distant far, the noble grave which held his clan's great ashes stood, and o'er his corse no banners wave, for they were stained with kindred blood. What minstrel grey, what hoary bard, shall Allen's deeds on harp strings raise? The song is glory's chief reward, but who can strike a murderer's praise? Unstrung, untouched, the harp must stand. No minstrel dare the theme awake. Guilt would benumb his palsied hand, his harp in shuddering chords would break. No lyre of fame, no hallowed verse, shall sound his glories high in air. A dying father's bitter curse, a brother's death groan echoes there. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Adrian's Address to His Soul When Dying by George Gordon, Lord Byron. Read for LibriVox.org by Alan Mapstone. Animula, vagula, blandula, hospes, comesces, corporis, quo nunc abibis in loca. Pallidula, rigida, nudula, nec ut soles dabis iocus. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Translation by George Gordon, Lord Byron. Read for LibriVox.org by Inkell. Ah, gentle, fleeting, wavering sprite, friend and associate of this clay, to what unknown region borne wilt thou now wing thy distant flight? No more with wonted humour gay, but pallid, cheerless, and forlorn. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Translation from Catullus, Ad Lesbium, by George Gordon, Lord Byron. Read for LibriVox.org by GaleHall. Equal to Jove, that youth must be, greater than Jove he seems to me, who free from jealousy's alarms, securely views thy matchless charms. That cheek which ever dimpling glows, that mouth from whence such music flows, to him alike are always known, reserved for him and him alone. Ah, Lesbia, though 'tis death to me, I cannot choose but look on thee. But, at the sight my senses fly, I needs must gaze, but gazing die. Whilst trembling with 1,000 fears, parched to the throat my tongue adheres, my pulse beats quick, my breath heaves short, my limbs deny their slight support. Cold dews my pallid face o'erspread, with deadly languor drops my head. My ears with tingling echoes ring, and life itself is on the wing. My eyes refuse the cheering light, their orbs are veiled in starless night. Such pangs my nature sinks beneath, and feels a temporary death. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Translation of the Epitaph on Virgil and Tibullus by Domitius Marcus by George Gordon, Lord Byron, read for LibriVox.org by Inkell. He who sublime in epic numbers rolled, and he who struck the softer lyre of love, by death's unequal hand alike controlled, fit comrades in Elysian regions move. End of poem. This recording's in the public domain.
Translation from Catullus. Luctus de Morte Passeris by George Gordon, Lord Byron. Read for LibriVox.org by GaleHall. Ye Cupids, droop each little head, nor let your wings with joy be spread. My Lesbia's favourite bird is dead, whom dearer than her eyes she loved. For he was gentle, and so true, obedient to her call he flew. No fear, no wild alarm he knew, but lightly o'er her bosom moved, and softly fluttering here and there, he never sought to cleave the air, but chirped oft, and free from care tuned to her ear his grateful strain. Now, having passed the gloomy bourne, from whence he never can return, his death and Lesbia's grief I mourn, who sighs, alas, but sighs in vain. O cursed be thou, devouring grave, whose jaws eternal victims crave, from whom no earthly power can save, for thou hast ta'en the bird away. From thee my Lesbia's eyes o'erflow, her swollen cheeks with weeping glow. Thou art the cause of all her woe, receptacle of life's decay. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Imitated from Catullus by George Gordon, Lord Byron. Read for LibriVox.org by Sandra. To Ellen. Oh, might I kiss those eyes of fire, a million scarce would quench desire. Still would I steep my lips in bliss and dwell an age on every kiss. Nor then my soul should sated be, still would I kiss and cling to thee. Naught should my kiss from thine dissever, still would we kiss and kiss for ever. E'en though the number did exceed the yellow harvest's countless seed, to part would be a vain endeavour. Could I desist? Ah, never, never. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Translation from Anacreon to his lyre by George Gordon, Lord Byron, read for LibriVox.org by Inkell. I wish to tune my quivering lyre to deeds of fame and notes of fire, to echo from its rising swell how heroes fought and nations fell, when Atreus' sons advanced to war, or Tyrian Cadmus rode afar, but still, to martial strains unknown, my lyre recurs to love alone. Fired with the hope of future fame, I seek some nobler hero's name. The dying chords are strung anew, to war, my harp is due, with glowing strings the epic strain, to Jove's great son I raise again. Alcides and his glorious deeds, beneath whose arm the Hydra bleeds, all in vain my wayward lyre wakes silver notes of soft desire. Adieu, ye chiefs renowned in arms, adieu the clang of war's alarms. To other deeds my soul is strung, and sweeter notes shall now be sung. My harp shall all its powers reveal, to tell the tale my heart must feel. Love, love alone my lyre shall claim, in songs of bliss and sighs of flame. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Ode 3 by George Gordon, Lord Byron. Read for LibriVox.org by GaleHall. Was now the hour when night had driven her car half round yon sable heaven. Boötes only seemed to roll his arctic charge around the pole, while mortals lost in gentle sleep forgot to smile or ceased to weep. At this lone hour the Paphian boy, descending from the realms of joy, quick to my gate directs his course, and knocks with all his little force. My visions fled, alarmed I rose. What stranger breaks my blessed repose? Alas, replies the wily child, in faltering accents, sweetly mild, a hapless infant, here I roam, far from my dear maternal home. Oh, shield me from the wintry blast, the nightly storm is pouring fast. No prowling robber lingers here, a wandering baby, who can fear? I heard his seeming artless tale, I heard his sighs upon the gale. My breast was never pity's foe, but felt for all the baby's woe. I drew the bar, and by the light, young Love, the infant, met my sight. His bow across his shoulders flung, and thence his fatal quiver hung. Ah, little did I think that dart would rankle soon within my heart. With care I tend my weary guest, his little fingers chill my breast. His glossy curls, his azure wing, which droop with nightly showers, I wring. His shivering limbs, the embers warm, and now reviving from the storm. Scarce had he felt his wonted glow, then swift he seized his slender bow. I fain would know, my gentle host, he cried, if this its strength has lost. I fear, relaxed with midnight dews, the strings their former aid refuse. With poison tipped his arrow flies, deep in my tortured heart it lies. Then loud the joyous urchin laughed, my bow can still impel the shaft. 'Tis firmly fixed, thy sighs reveal it. Say, courteous host, canst thou not feel it? End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Fragments of School Exercises by George Gordon, Lord Byron. Read for LibriVox.org. From the Prometheus Vinctus of Aeschylus. Great Jove, to whose almighty throne both gods and mortals homage pay, ne'er may my soul thy power disown, thy dread behests ne'er disobey. Oft shall the sacred victim fall in sea-girt ocean's mossy hall. My voice shall raise no impious strain 'gainst him who rules the sky and azure main. How different now thy joyless fate, since first Hesione thy bride, when placed aloft in godlike state, the blushing beauty by thy side, thou sattest while reverent oceans smiled, and mirthful strains the hours beguiled. The nymphs and Tritons danced around, nor yet thy doom was fixed, nor Jove relentless frowned. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The episode of Nisus and Euryalus, paraphrased from the Aeneid, Lib 9, by George Gordon, Lord Byron, read for LibriVox.org by Inkell. Nisus, the guardian of the portal, stood, eager to gild his arms with hostile blood. Well skilled in fight, the quivering lance to wield, or pour his arrows through the embattled field. From Ida torn he left his native grove, through distant climes and trackless seas to rove, to watch the movements of the Daunian host. With him Euryalus sustains the post. No lovelier mien adorned the ranks of Troy, and beardless bloom yet graced the gallant boy, though few the seasons of his youthful life, as yet a novice in the martial strife. 'Twas his, with beauty, valour's gifts to share, a soul heroic as his form was fair. These burn with one pure flame of generous love, in peace, in war, united still they move. Friendship and glory form their joint reward, and now combined they hold the knightly guard. What god, exclaimed the first, instills this fire? Or in itself a god, what great desire? My labouring soul with anxious thought oppressed, abhors the station of inglorious rest. The love of fame with this can ill accord, bed mine to seek the glory with my sword. Seest thou you camp, with torches twinkling dim, where drunken slumbers wrap each lazy limb, where confidence and ease the watch disdain, and drowsy silence holds her sable reign? Then hear my thought, in deep and sullen grief, our troops and leaders mourn their absent chief. Now could the gifts and promised prize be thine, the deed, the danger, and the fame be mine. Were this decreed, beneath you rising mound, methinks an easy path perchance were found, which past I speed my way to Pallas' walls, and lead Aeneas from Evander's halls. With equal ardour fired in warlike joy, his glowing friend addressed the Dardan boy. These deeds, my Nisus, thou shalt dare alone. Must all the fame, the peril be thine own? Am I by thee despised and left afar, as one unfit to share the toils of war? Not thus, his son, the great Opheltus taught, not thus, my sire, in Argive combats fought. Not thus, when Ilion fell by heavenly fate, I tracked Aeneas through the walks of fate. Thou knowest my deeds, my bravest devoid of fear, and hostile life drops dim my gory spear. Here is a soul with hope immortal burns, and life, ignoble life, for glory spurns. Fame is cheaply earned by fleeting breath, the price of honour is the sleep of death. Then Nisus, calm thy bosom's fond alarms, thy heart beats fiercely to the din of arms. More dear thy worth and valour than my own, I swear by him who fills Olympus' throne. So may I triumph as I speak the truth, and clasp again the comrade of my youth. But should I fall, and he who dares advance through hostile legions must abide by chance, or some Rutulian arm with adverse blow should lay the friend who ever loved thee low, live thou, such beauties I would fain preserve. Thy budding years a lengthened term deserve. When humbled in the dust, let some one be, whose gentle eyes will shed one tear for me, whose manly arm may snatch me back by force, or wealth redeem from foes my captive course. Or, if my destiny these last deny, if in the spoiler's power my ashes lie, thy pious care may raise a simple tomb, to mark thy love and signalize my doom. Why should thy doting wretched mother weep, her only boy reclined in endless sleep? Who for thy sake the tempest's fury dared? Who for thy sake was deadly peril shared? Who braved what woman never braved before, and left her native for the Latian shore? In vain you damp the ardour of my soul, replied Euryalus, it scorns control. Hence let us haste. Their brother guards arose, roused by their call, nor court again repose. The pair buoyed up on hope's exulting wing, their stations leave and speed to seek the king. Now o'er the earth a solemn stillness ran, and lulled alike the cares of brute and man, save where the Dardan leaders nightly hold, alternate converse, and their plans unfold. On one great point the council are agreed, an instant message to their prince decreed. Each leaned upon the lance he well could wield, and poised with easy arm his ancient shield. When Nisus and his friend their leave request, to offer something to their high behest, with anxious tremors, yet unawed by fear, the faithful fair before the throne appear. Iülus greets them at his kind command. The elder first addressed the hoary band. With patience, thus Hurtasides began. Attend nor judge from youth our humble plan, while yonder beacons have expiring beam, our slumbering foes of future conquest dream. Nor heed that we a secret path have traced, between the ocean and the portal placed, beneath the covert of the blackening smoke, whose shade securely our design will cloak. If you, ye chiefs, and fortune will allow, we'll bend our course to yonder mountain's brow, where palaces' walls at distance meet the sight, seen o'er the glade when not obscured by night. Then shall Aeneas in his pride return, while hostile matrons rise their offspring's urn, and Latian spoils and purpled heaps of dead shall mark the havoc of our heroes' tread. Such is our purpose, not unknown the way, where yonder torrents' devious waters stray. Oft have we seen them hunting by the stream, the distant spires above the valleys gleam. Mature in years, for sober wisdom famed, moved by the speech, Alethes here exclaimed, Ye parent gods, who rule the fate of Troy, still dwells the Dardan spirit in the boy. When minds like these in striplings thus ye raise, yours is the godlike act, be yours the praise. In gallant youth my fainting hopes revive, and Ilion's wonted glories still survive. Then in his warm embrace the boys he pressed, and quivering strained them to his aged breast, with tears the burning cheek of each bedewed, and, sobbing, thus his first discourse renewed. What gift, my countrymen, what martial prize, can we bestow which you may not despise? Our deities the first, best boons have given. Eternal virtues are the gift of heaven. What poor rewards can bless your deeds on earth, doubtless await such young excited worth. Aeneas and Ascanius shall combine, to yield applause far, far surpassing mine. Iülus then, by all the powers above, by those Penates who my country love, by hoary Vesta's sacred fane I swear, my hopes are all in you, ye generous pair. Restore my father to my grateful sight, and all my sorrows yield to one delight. Nisus, 2 silver goblets of thine own, saved from Arispa's stately domes o'erthrown. My sire secured them on that fatal day, nor left such bowls an Argive robber's prey. 2 massy tripods also shall be thine, 2 talents polished from the glittering mine. An ancient cup which Tyrian Dido gave, while yet our vessels pressed the Punic wave. But when the hostile chiefs at length bow down, when great Aeneas wears Hesperia's crown, the casque, the buckler, and the fiery steed, which Turnus guides with more than mortal speed, are thine. No envious lot shall then be cast. I pledge my word, irrevocably past. Nay more, 12 slaves and twice 6 captive dames, to soothe thy softer hours with amorous flames, and all the realms which now the Latins sway, the labours of tonight shall well repay. But thou, my generous youth, whose tender years are near my own, whose worth my heart reveres, henceforth affection sweetly thus begun shall join our bosoms and our souls in one. Without thy aid no glory shall be mine, without thy dear advice no great design. Alike through life esteemed, thou godlike boy, in war my bulwark and in peace my joy. To him Euryalus no day shall shame the rising glories from which this I claim. Fortune may favour or the skies may frown, but valour, spite of fate, obtains renown. Yet ere from hence our eager steps depart, one boon I beg, the nearest to my heart. My mother sprung from Priam's royal line, like thine ennobled, hardly less divine. Nor Troy, nor King Acestus' realms restrain her feeble age from dangers of the main. Hither she came, all selfish fears above, a bright example of maternal love. Unknown the secret enterprise I brave, lest grief should bend my parent to the grave. From this alone no fond adieus I seek, no fainting mother's lips have pressed my cheek. By gloomy night and thy right band I vow, her parting tears would shake my purpose now. Do thou, my prince, her failing age sustain, in thee her much-loved child may live again. Her dying hours with pious conduct bless, assist her wants, relieve her fond distress. So dear a hope must all my soul inflame, to rise in glory or to fall in flame. Struck with the filial care so deeply felt, in tears at once the Trojan warriors melt. Faster than all Iülus' eyes o'erflow, such love was his, and such had been his woe. All thou hast asked receive, the prince replied, nor this alone, but many a gift beside. To cheer my mother's years shall be my aim, Creusa's style, but wanting to the dame. Fortune an adverse wayward course may run, but bless thy mother in so dear a son. Now, By my life, my sire's most sacred oath, to thee I pledge my full, my firmest troth. All the rewards which once to thee were vowed, if thou shouldst fall, on her shall be bestowed. Thus spoke the weeping prince, then forth to view a gleaming falchion from the sheath he drew. Lycian's utmost skill had graced the steel, for friends to envy and for foes to feel. A tawny hide the Moorish lion's spoil, slain amidst the forest in the hunter's toil. Mnestheus to guard the elder youth bestows, and old Damaetas' casque defends his brows. Armed, thence they go, while all the assembled train to aid their cause implore the gods in vain. More than a boy in wisdom and in grace, Iulus holds amidst the chiefs his place. His prayers he sends, but what can prayers avail, lost in the murmurs of the sighing gale? The trenches passed and favoured by the night, through sleeping foes they wheel their weary flight. When shall the sleep of many a foe be o'er? Alas, some slumber who shall wake no more. Chariots and bridles mixed with arms are seen, and flowing flasks and scattered troops between. Bacchus and Mars to rule the camp combine. A mingled chaos, this, of war and wine. Now cries the first, for deeds of blood prepare, with me the conquest and the labour share. Here lies our path, lest my hand arise. Watch thou, while many a dreaming chieftain dies. I'll carve our passage through the heedless foe, and clear thy road with many a deadly blow. With whispering accents then the youth repressed, and pierced proud Rhamnes through his panting breast. Stretched at his ease the incautious king reposed, the balk and not fatigue his eyes had closed. To Turnus dear, a prophet and a prince, his omens more than augur's skill evince. But he who thus foretold the fate of all could not avert his own untimely fall. Next Remus's armour-bearer hapless fell, and 3 unhappy slaves the carnage swell. The charioteer along his courser's sides expires the steel his severed neck divides, and last his lord is numbered with the dead. Bounding convulsive flies the gasping head. From the swollen veins the blackening torrents pour, stained is the couch and earth with clotting gore. Young Lamyrus and Lamus next expire, and gay Serranus, filled with youthful fire. Half the long night in childish games was passed, lulled by the potent grape he slept at last. Ah, happier far had he the morn surveyed, until Aurora's dawn his skill displayed. In slaughtered folds the keeper's lost in sleep, his hungry fangs a lion thus may steep. Mid the sad flock at dead of night he prowls, with murder glutted and in carnage rolls. Insatiate still, though teeming herds he roams, in seas of gore the lordly tyrant foams. Nor less the others' deadly vengeance came, but falls on feeble crowds without a name. His wound unconscious Phaedrus scarce can feel, yet wakeful Rheus sees the threatening steel. His coward breast behind a jar he hides, and vainly in the weak defence confides. Full in his heart the falchion searched his veins, the reeking weapon bears alternate stains. Through wine and blood, commingling as they flow, the feeble spirit seeks the shades below. Now, where Messapus dwelt, they bend their way, whose fires emit a faint and trembling ray. There, unconfined, behold each grazing steed, unwatched, unheeded, on the herbage feed. Brave Nisus here rests his comrade's arm, too flushed with carnage and with conquest warm. Hence let us haste, the dangerous path is past, full foes enough to-night have breathed their last. Soon will the day those eastern clouds adorn, now let us speed, nor tempt the rising morn. What silver arms with various art embossed, what bowls and mantles in confusion tossed. They leave regardless, yet one glittering prize attracts the younger hero's wandering eyes. The gilded harness Rhamnes' coursers felt, the gems which stud the monarch's golden belt. This from the pallid corse was thickly torn, once by a line of former chieftains worn. The exulting boy the studded girdle wears, Messapus' helm his head in triumph bears. Then from the tents their cautious steps they bend, to seek the vale where safer paths extend. Just at this hour a band of Latian horse to Turnus' camp pursue the destined course, while the slow foot their tardy march delay. The knights impatient spur along the way, 300 mail-clad men, by Volscens led, to Turnus with their master's promise sped. Now they approach the trench, and view the walls, when on the left a light reflection falls. The plundered helmet through the wanting night sheds forth a silver radiance glancing bright. Volscens with question aloud the pair alarms. "Stand, stragglers, stand! Why early thus in arms? From whence? To whom?" He meets with no reply. Trusting the covert of the night they fly, the thicket's depth with hurried pace they tread, while round the wood the hostile squadrons spread. With brakes entangled, scarce a path between, dreary and dark appears the sylvan scene. Euryalus his heavy spoils impede, the bows and winding turns his steps mislead. But Nisus scores along the forest's maze, to where Latinus' steeds in safety graze. Then backward o'er the plain his eyes extend, on every side they seek his absent friend. "O God, my boy," he cries, "of me bereft, in what impending perils art thou left?" Listening he runs, above the waving trees, tumultuous voices swell the passing breeze. The war cry rises, thundering hoofs around, wake the dark echoes of the trembling ground. Again the turns of footsteps hear the noise, the sound elates, the sight his hope destroys. The hapless boy a ruffian train surround, while lengthening shades his weary way confound. Him, with loud shouts the furious knights pursue, struggling in vain, a captive to the crew. What can his friend 'gainst thronging numbers dare? Ah, must he rush, his comrade's fate to share? What force, what aid, what stratagem essay, back to redeem the Latian spoiler's prey? His life a votive ransom nobly give, or die with him for whom he wished to live. Poising with strength his lifted lance on high, on Luna's orb he cast his frenzied eye. Goddess serene, transcending every star, Queen of the sky, whose beauty is seen afar, by night heaven owns the sway, by day the grove, when, as chaste Dian, here thou deign'st to rove. If e'er myself or sire have sought to grace thine altars with the produce of the chase, speed, speed, my dart, to pierce your vaunting crowd, to free my friend, and scatter far the proud. Thus having said, the hissing dart he flung, through parted shades the hurtling weapon sung, the thirsty point in Sulmo's entrails lay, transfixed his heart, and stretched him on the clay. He sobs, he dies, the troop, in wild amaze, unconscious whence the death with horror gaze. While pale they stare, through Tagus' temples riven, a second shaft with equal force is driven. Fierce Volscens rolls around his lowering eyes, veiled by the night secure the Trojan lies. Burning with wrath he viewed his soldiers fall. "Thou youth accursed, thy life shall pay for all." Quick from the sheath his flaming glaive he drew, and raging on the boy defenceless flew. Nisus no more the blackening shade conceals, forth he starts and all his love reveals. Aghast, confused, his fears to madness rise, and pour these accents, shrieking as he flies. Me your vengeance hurl, on me alone. Here sheathe the steel, my blood is all your own. Ye starry spheres, thou conscious heaven attest, he could not, durst not, lo the guile confessed. All was mine, his early fate suspend, he only loved too well his hapless friend. Spare, ye chiefs, from him your rage remove, his fault was friendship, all his crime was love. He prayed in vain, the dark assassin's sword pierced the fair side, the snowy bosom gored. Lowly to earth inclines his plume-clad crest, and sanguine torrents mantle o'er his breast. A some young rose, whose blossom scents the air, languid in death, expires beneath the share. Or crimson poppy, sinking with the shower, declining gently, falls a fading flower. Thus sweetly drooping bends his lovely head, and lingering beauty hovers round the dead. But fiery Nisus stems the battle's tide, revenge his leader, and despair his guide. Volscens he seeks, amidst the gathering host, Volscens must soon appease his comrade's ghost. Steel, flashing, pours on steel, foe crowds on foe, rage nerves his arm, fate gleams in every blow. In vain beneath unnumbered wounds he bleeds, nor wounds nor death distracted Nisus heeds. In viewless circles wheeled, his falchion flies, nor quits the hero's grasp till Volscens dies. Deep in his throat its end the weapon found, the tyrant's soul fled groaning through the wound. Thus Nisus all his fond affection proved, dying, revenged the fate of him he loved. Then on his bosom sought his wonted place, and death was heavenly in his friend's embrace. Celestial pair, if aught my verse can claim, wafted on time's broad pinion yours is fame. Ages on ages shall your fate admire, no future day shall see your names expire, while stands the Capitol a mortal dome, and vanquished millions hail their Empress, Rome. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Translation from the Medea of Euripides. by George Gordon Lord Byron. Read for LibriVox.org by Alan Mapstone. When fierce conflicting passions urge the breast, where love is wont to glow, what mind can stem the stormy surge which rolls the tide of human woe? The hope of praise, the dread of shame, can rouse the tortured breast no more. The wild desire, the guilty flame, absorbs each wish it felt before. But if affection gently thrills the soul by purer dreams possessed, the pleasing balm of mortal ills in love can soothe the aching breast. If thus thou comest in gentle guise, fair Venus, from thy native heaven, what heart, unfeeling, would despise the sweetest boon the gods have given? But never from thy golden bow may I beneath the shaft expire, whose creeping venom, sure and slow, awakes an all-consuming fire. Ye racking doubts, ye jealous fears, with others wage internal war. Repentance, source of future tears, from me be ever distant far. May no distracting thoughts destroy the holy calm of sacred love. May all the hours be winged with joy, which hover faithful hearts above. Fair Venus, on thy myrtle shrine, may I with some fond lover sigh, whose heart may mingle pure with mine, with me to live, with me to die. My native soil, beloved before, now dearer as my peaceful home, ne'er may I quit thy rocky shore, a hapless banished wretch to roam. This very day, this very hour, may I resign this fleeting breath, nor quit my silent humble bower, a doom to me far worse than death. Have I not heard the exile's sigh, and seen the exile's silent tear? Through distant climes condemned to fly, a pensive, weary wanderer here. Ah, hapless dame, no sire bewails, no friend thy wretched fate deplores, no kindred voice with rapture hails thy steps within a stranger's doors. Perish the fiend, whose iron heart, to fair affection's truth unknown, bids her he fondly loved depart, unpitied, helpless, and alone, who ne'er unlocks with silver key the milder treasures of his soul. May such a friend be far from me, and ocean's storms between us roll. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Thoughts Suggested by a College Examination by George Gordon, Lord Byron. Read for LibriVox.org. High in the midst, surrounded by his peers, Magnus his ample front sublime upraise. Placed on his chair of state, he seems a god, while sophs and freshmen tremble at his nod, as all around sit wrapped in speechless gloom. His voice in thunder shakes the sounding dome, denouncing dire reproach to luckless fools, unskilled to plod in mathematic rules. Happy the youth, in Euclid's axioms tried, though little versed in any art beside, who scarcely skilled an English line to pen, scans Attic meters with a critic's ken. What, though he knows not how his fathers bled, when civil discord piled the fields with dead, when Edward bade his conquering bands advance, or Henry trampled on the crest of France? Though marvelling at the name of Magna Carta, yet well he recollects the laws of Sparta, can tell what edicts sage Lycurgus made, while black stones on the shelf neglected laid, of Grecian dramas vaunts the deathless fame of Avon's bard, remembering scarce the name. Such is the youth whose scientific pate class honours, medals, fellowships await, or even perhaps the declamation prize, if to such glorious height he lift his eyes. But lo, no common orator can hope the envied silver cup within his scope. Not that our heads much eloquence require, the Athenian's glowing style, or Tully's fire. A manner clear or warm is useless, since we do not try by speaking to convince. Be other orators of pleasing proud, we speak to please ourselves, not move the crowd. Our gravity prefers the muttering tone, a proper mixture of the squeak and groan. No borrowed grace of action must be seen, the slightest motion would displease the dean, whilst every staring graduate would prate against what he could never imitate. The man who hopes to obtain the promised cup must in one posture stand, and ne'er look up, nor stop, but rattle over every word, no matter what, so it cannot be heard. Thus let him hurry on, nor think to rest. Who speaks the fastest's sure to speak the best. Who utters most within the shortest space may safely hope to win the wordy race. The sons of science, these who thus repaid, linger in ease in Granta's sluggish shade, whereon Cam's sedgy banks supine they lie, unknown, unhonoured live, unwept for, die. Dull as the pictures which adorn their halls, they think all learning fixed within their walls, in manners rude, in foolish forms precise, all modern arts affecting to despise, yet prizing Bentley's Brunk's or Parson's note more than the verse on which the critic wrote. With eager haste they court the Lord of Power, whether 'tis P-I-T-T or P-T-T-Y rules the hour. To him with suppliant smiles they bend the head, while distant meters to their eyes are spread. But should a storm o'erwhelm him with disgrace, they'd fly to seek the next who filled his place. Such are the men who learning's treasures guard, such is their practice, such is their reward. This much at least we may presume to say, the premium can't exceed the price they pay. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Answer to some elegant verses sent by a friend to the author, by George Gordon, Lord Byron. Read for LibriVox.org by Sandra. Answer to some elegant verses sent by a friend to the author, complaining that one of his descriptions was rather too warmly drawn. Quote, "But if any old lady, knight, priest, or physician should condemn me for printing a second edition, if good Madame Squintum my work should abuse, may I venture to give her a smack of my muse?" End quote. From Anstey's New Bath Guide, page 169. Candor compels me, B.H.R., to commend the verse which blends the censor with the friend. Your strong yet just reproof extorts applause from me, the heedless and imprudent cause. For this wild error which pervades my strain, I sue for pardon. Must I sue in vain? The wise sometimes from wisdom's ways depart. Can youth then hush the dictates of the heart? Precepts of prudence curb, but can't control, the fierce emotions of the flowing soul. When love's delirium haunts the glowing mind, limping decorum lingers far behind. Vainly the dotard mends her prudish pace, outstripped and vanquished in the mental chase. The young, the old, have worn the chains of love. Let those they ne'er confined my lay reprove. Let those whose souls condemn the pleasing power their censures on the hapless victim shower. Oh, how I hate the nerveless frigid song, the ceaseless echo of the rhyming throng, whose laboured lines in chilling numbers flow, to paint a pang the author ne'er can know. The artless Helicon I boast is youth, my lyre, the heart, my muse, the simple truth. Far be it from me the virgin's mind to taint. Seduction's dread is here no slight restraint. The maid whose virgin breast is void of guile, whose wishes dimple in a modest smile, whose downcast eye disdains the wanton leer, firm in her virtue's strength, yet not severe, she whom a conscious grace shall thus refine will ne'er be tainted by a strain of mine. But for the nymph whose premature desires torment her bosom with unholy fires, no net to snare her willing heart is spread, she would have fallen though she ne'er had read. For me, I fain would please the chosen few, whose souls to feeling and to nature true will spare the childish verse, and not destroy the light effusions of a heedless boy. I seek not glory from the senseless crowd of fancied laurels. I shall ne'er be proud. Their warmest plaudits I would scarcely prize. Their sneers or censures I alike despise. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Granta, a Medley by George Gordon, Lord Byron. Read for LibriVox by Mathias Thorndal. Oh, could Lesage's demon's gift be realized at my desire, this night my trembling form he'd lift to place it on St. Mary's spire. Then would unroofed old Granta's halls pedantic inmates full display, fellows who dream on lawn or stalls the price of venal votes to pay. Then would I view each rival wight, Pity and Palmerston survey, who canvass there with all their might against the next elective day. Lo, candidates and voters lie, all lulled in sleep, a goodly number, a face renowned for piety, whose conscience won't disturb their slumber. Lord H. indeed may not demur, fellows are sage, reflecting men. They know preferment can occur, but very seldom, now and then. They know the Chancellor has got some pretty lemmings in disposal. Each hopes that one may be his lot, and therefore smiles on his proposal. Now, from the soporific scene, I'll turn mine eye, as night grows later, to view, unheeded and unseen, the studious sons of Alma Mater. There, in apartments small and damp, the candidate for college prizes sits poring by the midnight lamp, goes late to bed, yet early rises. He surely well deserves to gain them, with all the honours of his college, who, striving hardly to obtain them, thus seeks unprofitable knowledge. Who sacrifices hours of rest to scan precisely meters attic, or agitates his anxious breast in solving problems mathematic. Who reads false quantities in seal, or puzzles o'er the deep triangle, deprived of many a wholesome meal, in barbarous Latin, doomed to wrangle. Renouncing every pleasing page, from authors of historic use, preferring to the lettered sage the square of the hypotenuse. Still harmless are these occupations, that hurt none but the hapless student, compared with other recreations, which bring together the imprudent. Whose daring revels shock the sight, when vice and infamy combine, when drunkenness and dice unite, as every sense is steeped in wine. Not so the Methodistic crew, who plans of reformation lay. In humble attitude they sue, and for the sins of others pray, forgetting that their pride of spirit, their exaltation in their trial, detracts most largely from their merit of all their boasted self-denial. 'Tis morn, from these I turn my sight. What scene is this which meets the eye? A numerous crowd arrayed in white, across the green in numbers fly. Loud rings in air the chapel bell. 'Tis hushed, what sounds are these I hear? The organ's soft celestial swell rolls steeply on the listening ear. To this is joined the sacred song, the royal minstrel's hallowed strain, though he who hears the music long will never wish to hear again. Our choir would scarcely be excused, even as a band of raw beginners. All mercy now must be refused to such a set of croaking sinners. If David, when his toils were ended, had heard these blockheads sing before him, to us his psalms had ne'er descended. In furious mood he would have tore 'em. The luckless Israelites, when taken by some inhuman tyrant's order, were asked to sing, by joy forsaken, on Babylonian river's border. Oh, had they sung in notes like these, inspired by stratagem or fear, they might have set their hearts at ease. The devil a soul had stayed to hear. But if I scribble longer now, the deuce a soul will stay to read. My pen is blunt, my ink is slow. 'Tis almost time to stop, indeed. Therefore farewell, old Granta's spires. No more like Cleophas I fly. No more thy theme my muse inspires. The reader's tired, and so am I. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Lachen I Gair by George Gordon, Lord Byron. Read for LibriVox by Mathias Thorndal. Away, ye gay landscapes, ye gardens of roses! In you let the minions of luxury rove. Restore me the rocks where the snowflake reposes, though still they are sacred to freedom and love. Yet Caledonia, beloved are thy mountains, round their white summits though elements war, though cataracts foam stead of smooth flowing fountains, I sigh for the valley of dark Loch Nagar. Ah, there my young footsteps in infancy wandered. My cap was the bonnet, my cloak was the plaid. On chieftains long perished my memory pondered, as daily I strode through the pine-covered glade. I sought not my home till the day's dying glory gave place to the rays of the bright polar star, for fancy was cheered by traditional story, disclosed by the natives of dark Loch Nagar. Shades of the dead, have I not heard your voices rise on the night-rolling breath of the gale? Surely the soul of the hero rejoices, and rides on the wind o'er his own highland vale. Round Loch Nagar, while the stormy mist gathers, winter presides in his cold icy ear. Clouds there encircle the forms of my fathers, they dwell in the tempests of dark Loch Nagar. Ill-starred though brave, did no visions foreboding tell you that fate had forsaken your course? Ah, were you destined to die at Culloden? Victory crowned not your fall with applause. Still were you happy in death's earthy slumber, You rest with your clan in the caves of Brimar. The pibroch resounds to the piper's loud number, your deeds on the echoes of dark Loch Nagar. Years have rolled on, Loch Nagar, since I left you. Years must elapse ere I tread you again. Nature of verdure and flowers has bereft you, yet still are you dearer than Albion's plain. England, thy beauties are tame and domestic, to one who has roved on the mountains far. Oh, for the crags that are wild and majestic, the steep frowning glories of dark Loch Nagar. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. To Romance by George Gordon, Lord Byron. Read for LibriVox.org by Mathias Thorndal. Parent of golden dreams, Romance, auspicious queen of childish joys, who leadst along in airy dance thy votive train of girls and boys. At length in spells no longer bound, I break the fetters of my youth. No more I tread thy mystic round, but leave thy realms for those of truth. And yet 'tis hard to quit the dreams which haunt the unsuspicious soul, where every nymph a goddess seems, whose eyes through rays immortal roll, while fancy holds her boundless reign, and all assume a varied hue, when virgins seem no longer vain, and even woman's smiles are true. And must we own thee but a name, and from thy hall of clouds descend, nor find a sylph in every dame, a Pylades in every friend, but leave at once thy realms of air to mingling bands of fairy elves, confess that woman's falls as fair, and friends have feelings for themselves. With shame I own I felt thy sway, repentant now thy reign is o'er. No more thy precepts I obey, no more on fancied pinions soar. Fond fool, to love a sparkling eye, and think that I to truth was dear, to trust a passing wanton's sigh, and melt beneath a wanton's tear. Romance, disgusted with deceit, far from thy motley court I fly, where affectation holds her seat, and sickly sensibility, whose silly tears can never flow for any pangs excepting thine, who turns aside from real woe to steep in dew thy gaudy shrine. Now join with sable sympathy, with cypress crowned, arrayed in weeds, who heaves with thee her simple sigh, whose breast for every bosom bleeds, and call thy sylvan female choir to mourn a swain forever gone, who once could glow with equal fire, but bends not now before thy throne. Ye genial nymphs, whose ready tears on all occasions swiftly flow, whose bosoms heave with fancied fears, with fancied flames and frenzy glow, say, will you mourn my absent name, apostate from your gentle train? An infant bard at least may claim from you a sympathetic strain. Adieu, fond race, a long adieu. The hour of fate is hovering nigh. Even now the gulf appears in view, where unlamented you must lie. Oblivion's blackening lake is seen, convulsed by gales you cannot weather, where you and eke your gentle queen, alas, must perish all together. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Elegy on Newstead Abbey by George Gordon, Lord Byron. Read for LibriVox.org by Alan Mapstone. It is the voice of years that are gone. They roll before me with all their deeds. Ossian. Newstead, fast falling once resplendent dome, religion's shrine, repentant Henry's pride, of warriors, monks, and dames the cloistered tomb, whose pensive shades around thy ruins glide. Hail to thy pile, more honoured in thy fall than modern mansions in their pillared state. Proudly majestic frowns thy vaulted hall, scowling defiance on the blasts of fate. No mail-clad serfs, obedient to their lord, in grim array the crimson cross demand, or gay assemble round the festive board, their chief's retainers an immortal band. Else might inspiring fancy's magic eye retrace their progress through the lapse of time, marking each ardent youth ordained to die, a votive pilgrim in Judea's clime. But not from thee, dark pile, departs the chief, his feudal realm in other regions lay. In thee the wounded conscience courts relief, retiring from the garish blaze of day. Yes, in thy gloomy cells and shades profound, the monk abjured a world he ne'er could view, or blood-stained guilt repenting solace found, or innocence from stern oppression flew. A monarch bade thee from that wild arise, where Sherwood's outlaws once were wont to prowl, and superstition's crimes of various dyes sought shelter in the priest's protecting cowl. Where now the grass exhales a murky dew, the humid pall of life-extinguished clay, in sainted frame the sacred fathers grew, nor raised their pious voices but to pray. Where now the bats their wavering wings extend, soon as the gloaming spreads her waning shade, the choir did oft their mingling vespers blend, or matin orisons to Mary paid. Years roll on years, to ages ages yield, abbots to abbots in a line succeed, religion's charter their protecting shield, till royal sacrilege their doom decreed. One holy Henry reared the Gothic walls, and bid the pious inmates rest in peace. Another Henry the kind gift recalls, and bids devotion's hallowed echoes cease. Vain is each threat or supplicating prayer, he drives them exiles from their blessed abode, to roam a dreary world in deep despair, no friend, no home, no refuge but their God. Hark, how the hall, resounding to the strain, shakes with the martial music's novel din. The heralds of a warrior's haughty reign, high-crested banners wave thy walls within. Of changing sentinels the distance hum, the mirth of feasts, the clang of burnished arms, the braying trumpet and the hoarser drum, unite in concert with increased alarms. An abbey once, a regal fortress now, encircled by insulting rebel powers, war's dread machines o'erhang thy threatening brow, and dart destruction in sulphurous showers. Ah, vain defence, the hostile traitor's siege, though oft repulsed by guile o'ercomes the brave. His thronging foes oppress the faithful liege, rebellion's reeking standards o'er him wave. Not unavenged the raging Baron yields, the blood of traitors smears the purple plain. Unconquered still his falchion there he wields, and days of glory yet to him remain. Still in that hour the warrior wished to strew self-gathered laurels on a self-sought grave, but Charles' protecting genius hither flew, the monarch's friend, the monarch's hope to save. Trembling she snatched him from the unequal strife, in other fields the torrent to repel, for nobler combats here reserved his life, to lead the band where godlike Falkland fell. From thee poor pile to lawless plunder given, while dying groans their painful requiem sound. Far different incense now ascends to heaven, such victims wallow on the gory ground. There many a pale and ruthless robber's course, noisome and ghast, defiles thy sacred sod, or mingling man and horse commixed with horse, corruption's heap the savage spoilers trod. Graves long with rank and sighing weeds o'erspread, ransacked resign perforce their mortal mould. From ruffian fangs escape not e'en the dead, raked from repose in search for buried gold. Hushed is the harp, unstrung the warlike lyre, the minstrel's palsied hand reclines in death. No more he strikes the quivering chords with fire, or sings the glories of the martial wreath. At length the sated murderers, gorged with prey, retire, the clamour of the fight is o'er. Silence again resumes her awful sway, and sable horror guards the massy door. Here desolation holds her dreary court, what satellites declare her dismal reign? Shrieking their dirge, ill-omened birds resort to flit their vigils in the hoary fane. Soon a new morn's restoring beams dispel the clouds of anarchy from Britain's skies. The fierce usurper seeks his native hell, and nature triumphs as the tyrant dies. With storm she welcomes his expiring groans, whirlwinds responsive greet his labouring breath. Earth shudders as her caves receive his bones, loathing the offering of so dark a death. The legal ruler now resumes the helm, he guides through gentle seas the prow of state. Hope cheers with wonted smiles the peaceful realm, and heals the bleeding wounds of wearied hate. The gloomy tenants, Newstead, of thy cells, howling resign their violated nest. Again the master on his tenure dwells, enjoyed from absence with enraptured zest. Vassals within thy hospitable pale, loudly carousing, bless their lord's return. Culture again adorns the gladdening vale, and matrons once lamenting cease to mourn. 1,000 songs on tuneful echo float, unwonted foliage mantles o'er the trees, and hark, the horns proclaim a mellow note, the hunter's cry hangs lengthening on the breeze. Beneath the courser's hooves the valleys shake, what fears, what anxious hopes attend the chase? The dying stag seeks refuge in the lake, exulting shouts announce the finished race. Ah, happy days, too happy to endure, such simple sports our plain forefathers knew. No splendid vices glittered to allure Their joys were many, as their cares were few. From these descending, sons to sires succeed. Time steals along, and death uprears his dart. Another chief impels the foaming steed. Another crowd pursue the panting hart. Newstead, what saddening change of scene is thine? Thy yawning arch betokens slow decay. The last and youngest of a noble line now holds thy mouldering turrets in his sway. Deserted now he scans thy grey-worn towers, thy vaults where dead of feudal ages sleep, thy cloisters pervious to the wintry showers. These he views, and views them but to weep. Yet are his tears no emblems of regret, cherished affection only bids them flow. Pride, hope, and love forbid him to forget, but warm his bosom with impassioned glow. Yet he prefers thee to the gilded domes, or gewgaw grottos of the vainly great, yet lingers mid thy damp and mossy tombs, nor breathes a murmur 'gainst the will of fate. Haply the sun, emerging yet, may shine, thee too irradiate with meridian ray. Fortune may smile upon a future line, and heaven restore an ever cloudless day. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Childish Recollections by George Gordon, Lord Byron. Read for LibriVox.org by Kevin S. I cannot but remember much things were, and were most dear to me. Macbeth. When slow disease with all her host of pains chills the warm tide which flows along the veins, when health affrighted spreads her rosy wing, and flies with every changing gale of spring, not to the aching frame alone confined, unyielding pangs assail the drooping mind. What grisly forms the spectre train of woe bid shuddering nature shrink beneath the blow, with resignation wage relentless strife, while hope retires appalled and clings to life. Yet lest the pang, when through the tedious hour remembrance sheds around her genial power, calls back the vanquished days to rapture given, when love was bliss and beauty formed our heaven. Or dear to youth, portrays each childish scene, those fairy bowers where all in turn have been, as when, through clouds that pour the summer storms, the orb of day unveils its distant form, gilds with faint beams the crystal dews of rain, and dimly twinkles o'er the watery plain. Thus, while the future dark and cheerless gleams, the sun of memory, glowing through my dreams, though sunk the radiance of his former blaze, to scenes far distant points his paler rays, still rules my senses with unbounded sway, the past confounding with the present day. Oft does my heart indulge the rising thought, which still recurs, unlooked for and unsought. My soul to fancy's fond suggestion yields, and roams romantic o'er her airy fields. Scenes of my youth, developed, crowd to view, to which I long have bade a last adieu. Seats of delight, inspiring youthful themes, friends lost to me, for I, except in dreams, some who in marble prematurely sleep, whose forms I now remember, but to weep. Some who yet urge the same scholastic course of early science, future fame the source, who still contending in the studious race in quick rotation, fill the senior place. These with 1,000 visions now unite, to dazzle, though they please, my aching sight. Ida, blessed spot where science holds her reign, How joyous once I join thy youthful train! Bright in idea gleams thy lofty spire, Again I mingle with thy playful choir. Our tricks of mischief, each childish game, Unchanged by time or distance, seem the same. Through winding paths along the glade I trace The social smile of every welcome face. My wonted haunts, my scenes of joy or woe, From each early boyish friend or youthful foe, Our feuds dissolved, but not my friendship past. I bless the former and forgive the last. Hours of my youth, when nurtured in my breast To love a stranger, friendship made me blessed. Friendship, the dear peculiar bond of youth, When every artless bosom throbs with truth, Untaught by worldly wisdom how to feign, And check each impulse with prudential rein, When all we feel our honest souls disclose, And love to friends, and open hate to foes. No tarnished tales the lips of youth repeat, No dear-bought knowledge purchased by deceit. Hypocrisy, the gift of lengthened years, Matured by age, the garb of prudence wears. When now the boy is ripened into man, His careful sire chalks forth some wary plan, Instructs his son from candor's path to shrink, Smoothly to speak and cautiously to think, Still to assent, and never to deny. A patron's praise can well reward the lie. And who, when fortune's warning voice is heard, Would lose his opening prospects for a word, Although against that word his heart rebel, And truth indignant all his bosom swell? Away with themes like this, not mine the task From flattering fiends to tear the hateful mask. Let keener bards delight in satire's sting, My fancy soars not on detraction's wing. But once she aimed a deadly blow, To hurl defiance on a secret foe. But when that foe, from feeling or from shame, The cause unknown, yet still to me the same, Warned by some friendly hint, perchance, retired, With this submission all her rage expired. From dreaded pangs that feeble foe to save, She hushed her young resentment and forgave. Or if my muse a pendant portrait drew, Pompous virtues are but known to few. I never feared the young usurper's nod, And he who wields must sometimes feel the rod. If since on Granta's failings, known to all Who share the converse of a college hall, She sometimes trifled in a lighter strain, 'Tis past, and thus she will not sin again. Soon must her early song forever cease, And all may rail when I shall rest in peace. Here first remembered be the joyous band Who hailed me chief, obedient to command, Who joined with me in every boyish sport, Their first adviser and their last resort, Nor shrunk before the upstart pedant's frown Of all the sable glories of his gown, Who thus transplanted from his father's school, Unfit to govern, ignorant of rule, Succeeded him whom all unite to praise, The dear preceptor of my early days. Probus, the pride of science and the boast, To Ida now, alas, forever lost. With him for years we searched the classic page, And feared the master, though we loved the sage. Retired at last, his small yet peaceful seat From learning's labor is the blessed retreat. Pompous fills his magisterial chair, Pompous governs, but my muse forbear. Contempt and silence be the pedant's lot, His name and precepts be a lot forgot. No more his mention shall my verse degrade, To him my tribute is already paid. High through these elms with hoary branches crowned, Fair Ida's bower adorns the landscape round. There science from her favourite seat surveys The vale where rural nature claims her praise. To her awhile resigns her youthful train, Who move in joy and dance along the plain. In scattered groups each favoured haunt pursue, Repeat old pastimes, and discover new. Flushed with his rays beneath the noontide sun, in rival bands between the wickets run, drive o'er the ball with active force, or chase with nimble feet its rapid course. But these with slower steps direct their way, where Brent's cool waves and limpid currents stray, while yonder few search out some green retreat, and arbors shade them from the summer heat. Others, again, a pert and lively crew, some rough and thoughtless stranger, placed in view, with frolic quaint their antic jests expose, and tease the grumbling rustic as he goes. Nor rest with this, but many a passing fray tradition treasures for a future day. 'Twas here the gathered swains for vengeance fought, and here we earned the conquest dearly bought. Here have we fled before superior might, and here renewed the wild tumultuous fight. While thus our souls with early passion swell, in lingering tones resounds the distant bell. The allotted hour of daily sport is o'er, and learning beckons from her temple's door. No splendid tablets grace her simple hall, but ruder records fill the dusky wall. There, deeply carved, behold, each tyro's name secures its owner's academic fame. Here mingling view the names of sire and son, the one long graved, the other just begun. These shall survive alike when son and sire beneath one common stroke of fate expire. Perhaps their last memorial these alone, denied in death a monumental stone, whilst to the gale and mournful cadence wave the sighing weeds that hide their nameless grave. Then here my name and many an early friend's along the wall in lengthened line extends, though still our deeds amuse the youthful race, who tread our steps and fill our former place, who young obeyed their lords in silent awe, whose nod commanded and whose voice was law, and now in turn possess the reins of power to rule the little tyrants of an hour, though sometimes with the tales of ancient day they pass the dreary winter's eve away. And thus our former rulers stemmed the tide, and thus they dealt the combat side by side. Just in this place the mouldering walls they scaled, nor bolts nor bars against their strength availed. Here Probus came, the rising fray to quell, and here he faltered forth his last farewell. And here one night abroad they dared to roam, while bold Pompeius bravely stayed at home. While thus they speak, the hour must soon arrive, when names of these, like ours, alone survive. Yet a few years, one general wreck will whelm the faint remembrance of our fairy realm. Dear honest race, though now we meet no more, one last long look at what we were before, our first kind greetings and our last adieu, drew tears from eyes unused to weep for you. Those splendid circles, fashion's gaudy world, where folly's glaring standard waves unfurled, I plunged to drown in noise my fond regret, and all I sought or hoped was to forget. Vain wish, if chance some well-remembered face, some old companion of my early race, advanced to claim his friend with honest joy, my eyes, my heart proclaimed me still a boy. The glittering scene, the fluttering groups around, were quite forgotten when my friend was found. The smiles of beauty, for alas I've known what 'tis to bend before love's mighty throne. The smiles of beauty, though those smiles were dear, could hardly charm me when that friend was near. My thoughts bewildered in the fond surprise, the woods of Ida danced before my eyes. I saw the sprightly wanderers pour along, I saw and joined again the joyous throng. Panting again, I traced her lofty grove, and friendship's feelings triumphed over love. But why should I alone with such delight retrace the circuit of my former flight? Is there no cause beyond the common claim, endeared to all in childhood's very name? Ah, sure some stronger impulse vibrates here, which whispers friendship will be doubly dear to one who thus for kindred hearts must roam, and seek abroad the love denied at home. Those hearts, dear Ida, here I found in thee a home, a world, a paradise to me. Stern death forbade my orphan youth to share the tender guidance of a father's care. Can rank or even a guardian's name supply the love which glistens in a father's eye? For this can wealth or title sound atone, made by a parent's early loss, my own? What brother brings a brother's love to seek? What sister's gentle kiss has pressed my cheek? For me, how dull the vacant moments rise, to no fond bosom linked by kindred ties. Oft in the progress of some fleeting dream, fraternal smiles collected round me seem. While still the visions to my heart are pressed, the voice of love will murmur in my rest. I hear, I wake, and in the sound rejoice. I hear again, but no brother's voice. A hermit midst of crowds, I fain must stray alone, though 1,000 pilgrims fill the way. While these 1,000 kindred wreaths entwine, I cannot call one single blossom mine. What then remains? In solitude to groan, to mix in friendship, or to sigh alone. Thus must I cling to some endearing hand, and none more dear than Ida's social band. Alonzo, best and dearest of my friends, thy name ennobles him, who thus commends. From this fond tribute thou canst gain no praise, the praise is his, who now that tribute pays. Oh, in the promise of thy early youth, if hope anticipate the words of truth, some loftier bard shall sing thy glorious name, to build his own upon thy deathless fame. Friend of my heart, and foremost of the list of those with whom I lived supremely blessed, oft have we drained the fount of ancient lore, though drinking deeply, thirsting still the more. Yet when confinement's lingering hour was done, our sports, our studies, and our souls were one. Together we impelled the flying ball, together waited in our tutor's hall, together joined in cricket's manly toil, or shared the produce of the river's spoil. Or plunging from the green, declining shore, our pliant limbs the buoyant waters bore, in every element unchanged, the same, all that brothers should be, but the name. Nor yet are you forgot, my jocund boy, Davis, the harbinger of childish joy, forever foremost in the ranks of fun, the laughing herald of the harmless pun, yet with a breast of such materials made, anxious to please, of pleasing half afraid, candid and liberal, with a heart of steel in danger's path, though not untaught to feel. Still I remember in the fractious strife the rustic's musket aimed against my life. High poised in air the massy weapon hung, a cry of horror burst from every tongue, whilst I, in combat with another foe, fought on, unconscious of the impending blow. Your arm, brave boy, arrested his career. Forward you sprung, insensible to fear. Disarmed and baffled by your conquering hand, the groveling savage rolled upon the sand. An act like this can simple thanks repay of all the labors of a grateful lay? Oh, no, whene'er my breast forgets the deed, that instant, Davis, it deserves to bleed. Lysis, on me thy claims are justly great, thy milder virtues could my muse relate. To thee alone, unrivalled, would belong the feeble efforts of my lengthened song. Well canst thou boast, to lead in senates fit, a Spartan firmness with Athenian wit. Though yet in embryo these perfections shine, Lysis, thy father's fame will soon be thine. Where learning nurtures the superior mind, what may we hope from genius thus refined? When time at length matures thy growing years, how wilt thou tower above thy fellow peers? Prudence and sense, a spirit bold and free, with honor's soul united, beam in thee. Shall fair Euryalus pass by unsung, from ancient lineage not unworthy sprung? What though one sad dissension bade us part, that name is yet embalmed within my heart. Yet at the mention does that heart rebound and palpitate, responsive to the sound. Envy dissolved our ties, and not our will. We once were friends. I'll think we are so still. A form unmatched in nature's partial mould, a heart untainted, we in thee behold. Yet not the Senate's thunder thou shalt wield, nor seek for glory in the tented field. To minds of ruder texture these be given, thy soul shall nearer soar its native heaven. Haply in polished courts might be thy seat, but that thy tongue could never forge deceit. The courtier's supple bow and sneering smile, the flow of compliment, the slippery wile, would make that breast with indignation burn, and all the glittering snares to tempt thee spurn. Domestic happiness will stamp thy fate, sacred to love, unclouded e'er by hate. The world admire thee, and thy friends adore. Ambition's slave alone would toil for more. Now last, but nearest of the social band, see honest, open, generous Cleon stand. With scarce one speck to cloud the pleasing scene, no vice degrades that purest soul serene. On the same day our studious race begun, on the same day our studious race was run. Thus side by side we passed our first career, thus side by side we strove for many a year, at last concluded our scholastic life. We never conquered in the classic strife, as speakers, each supports an equal name, and crowds allowed to both a partial fame. To soothe a youthful rival's early pride, though Cleon's candour would the palm divide, yet candour's self compels me now to own justice awards it to my friend alone. O friends regret it, scenes forever dear, remembrance hails you with her warmest tear. Drooping she bends, or pensive fancies earn, to trace the hours which never can return, yet with the retrospection loves to dwell, and soothe the sorrows of her last farewell, yet greets the triumph of my boyish mind, as infant laurels round my head were twined, when Probus's praise repaid my lyric song, or placed me higher in the studious throng, or when my first harangue received applause, his sage instruction the primeval cause. What gratitude to him my soul possessed, while hope of dawning honours filled my breast. For all my humble fame, to him alone the praise is due, who made that fame my own. Oh, could I soar above these feeble lays, these young effusions of my early days, to him my muse her noblest strain would give. The song might perish, but the theme will live. Yet why for him the needless verse essay? His honoured name requires no vain display. By every son of grateful Ida blessed, it finds an echo in each youthful breast. A fame beyond the glories of the proud, of all the plaudits of the venal crowd. Ida not yet exhausted is the theme, nor closed the progress of my youthful dream. How many a friend deserves the grateful strain, what scenes of childhood still unsung remain. Yet let me hush this echo of the past, this parting song, the dearest and the last, and brood in secret o'er those hours of joy, to me a silent and a sweet employ. While future hope and fear alike unknown, I think with pleasure on the past alone. Yet to the past alone my heart confine, and chase the phantom of what once was mine. Ida, still o'er thy hills in joy preside, and proudly steer through time's eventful tide. Still may thy blooming sons thy name revere, smile in thy bower, but quit thee with a tear. That tear, perhaps the fondest which will flow o'er their last scene of happiness below. Tell me, ye hoary few, who glide along, the feeble veterans of some former throng, whose friends like autumn leaves by tempest whirled are swept forever from this busy world. Revolve the fleeting moments of your youth, while care as yet withheld her venom's tooth. Say, if remembrance days like these endears beyond the rapture of succeeding years. Say, can ambition's fevered dream bestow so sweet a balm to soothe your hours of woe? Can treasures hoard it for some thankless son? Can royal smiles or wreaths by slaughter won, can stars or ermine, man's maturer toys? For glittering baubles are not left to boys. Recall one scene so much beloved to view as those where youth her garland twined for you. Ah no, amidst the gloomy calm of age, you turn with faltering hand life's varied page. Peruse the record of your days on earth, unsullied only where it marks your birth. Still lingering, pause above each checkered leaf, and blot with tears the sable lines of grief. Where passion o'er the theme her mantle threw, or weeping virtue sighed a faint adieu. But bless the scroll which fairer words adorn, traced by the rosy finger of the morn, when friendship bowed before the shrine of truth, and love without his pinion smiled on youth. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Death of Calmar and Orla by George Gordon, Lord Byron. Read for LibriVox.org by Alan Mapstone. An imitation of Macpherson's Ossian. Dear are the days of youth. Age dwells on their remembrance through the mist of time. In the twilight he recalls the sunny hours of morn. He lifts his spear with trembling hand. Not thus feebly did I raise the steel before my fathers. Past is the race of heroes, but their fame rises on the harp. Their souls ride on the wings of the wind. They hear the sound through the sighs of the storm, and rejoice in their hall of clouds. Such is Calmar. The grey stone marks his narrow house. He looks down from edifying tempests. He rolls his form in the whirlwind, and hovers on the blast of the mountain. In Morven dwelt the chief, a beam of war to Fingal. His steps in the field are marked in blood. Lochlin's son had fled before his angry spear. But mild was the eye of Calmar, soft was the flow of his yellow locks. They streamed like the meteor of the night. No maid was the sigh of his soul. His thoughts were given to friendship, to dark-haired Orla, destroyer of heroes. Equal were their swords in battle, but fierce was the pride of Orla, gentle alone to Calmar. Together they dwelt in the cave of Oithona. From Lochlin Sarwan bounded o'er the blue waves. Erin's sons fell beneath his might. Fingal roused his chiefs to combat. Their ships cover the ocean. Their hosts throng on the green hills. They come to the aid of Erin. Night rose in clouds. Darkness veils the armies. But the blazing oaks gleam through the valley. The sons of Lochlin slept. Their dreams were of blood. They lift the spear in thought, and Fingal flies. Not so the host of Morven. To watch was the post of Orla. Calmar stood by his side. Their spears were in their hands. Fingal called his chiefs. They stood around. The king was in the midst. Grey were his locks, but strong was the arm of the king. Age withered not his powers. Sons of Morven, said the hero, tomorrow we meet the foe. But where is Catullus, the shield of Erin? He rests in the halls of Tura. He knows not of our coming. Who will speed through Lochlin to the hero, and call the chief to arms? The path is by the sword of foes, but many are my heroes. They are the thunderbolts of war. Speak, ye chiefs, who will arise? Son of Trenmore, mine be the deed, said dark-haired Orla, and mine alone. What is death to me? I love the sleep of the mighty, but little is the danger. The sons of Lochlin dream. I will seek Carborn Cuthelin. If I fall, raise the song of bards, and lay me by the stream of Lubar. And shalt thou fall alone? Said fair-haired Calmer. Wilt thou leave thy friend afar? Chief of Oithona, not feeble is my arm in fight. Could I see thee die and not lift the spear? No, Orla, ours has been the chase of the roebuck and the feast of shells. Ours be the path of danger. Ours has been the cave of Orthona. Ours be the narrow dwelling on the banks of Lubar. Calmar, said the chief of Oithona, why should thy yellow locks be darkened in the dust of Erin? Let me fall alone. My father dwells in his hall of air. He will rejoice in his boy. But the blue-eyed Mora spreads the feast for her son in Morven. She listens to the steps of the hunter on the heath, and thinks it is the tread of Calmar. Let him not say, Calmar has fallen by the steel of Lochlin. He died with gloomy Orla, the chief of the dark brow. Why should tears dim the azure eye of Mora? Why should her voice curse Orla, the destroyer of Calmar? Live, Calmar, live to raise my stone of moss. Live to revenge me in the blood of Lochlin. Join the song of the bards above my grave. Sweet will be the song of death to Orla from the voice of Calmar. My ghost shall smile on the notes of praise. Orla, said the son of Mora, could I raise the song of death to my friend? Could I give his fame to the winds? No, my heart would speak in sighs. Faint and broken are the sounds of sorrow. Orla, our souls shall hear the song together. One cloud shall be ours on high. The bards will mingle the names of Orla and Calmar. They quit the circle of the chiefs. Their steps are to the host of Lochlin. The dying blaze of oak dim twinkles through the night. The northern star points to the path of Tura. Swaran the king rests on his lonely hill. Here the troops are mixed, they frown in sleep, their shields beneath their heads, their swords gleam at a distance in heaps. The fires are faint, their embers fail in smoke. All is hushed, but the gale sighs on the rocks above. Lightly wheel the heroes through the slumbering band. Half the journey is past, when Mathon, resting on his shield, meets the eye of Orla. It rolls in flame, and glistens through the shade. His spear is raised on high. Why dost thou bend thy brow, chief of Orthona? Said fair-haired Calmar. We are in the midst of foes. Is this a time for delay? It is time for vengeance, said Orla of the gloomy brow. Mathon of Lochlin sleeps, seest thou his spear? Its point is dim with the gore of my father. The blood of Mathon shall reek on mine. But shall I slay him, sleeping, son of Mora? No, he shall feel his wound. My fame shall not sour on the blood of slumber. Rise, Mathon, rise. The son of Conall calls. Thy life is his. Rise to combat. Mathon starts from sleep, but did he rise alone? No, the gathering chiefs bound on the plain. Fly, Calmar, fly, said dark-haired Ola. Mathon is mine. I shall die in joy, but Lochlin crowds around. Fly through the shade of night. Orla turns. The helm of Mathon is cleft. His shield falls from his arm. He shudders in his blood. He rolls by the side of the blazing oak. Strumon sees him fall. his wrath rises, his weapon glitters on the head of Orla, but a spear pierced his eye. His brain gushes through the womb and foams on the spear of Calmar. As roll the waves of ocean on two mighty barks of the north, so pour the men of Lochlin on the chiefs. As breaking the surge in foam proudly steer the barks of the north, so rise the chiefs of Morven on the scattered crests of Lochlin. The din of arms came to the ear of Fingal. He strikes his shield. His sons throng around. The people pour along the heath. Rhino bounds in joy. Ossian stalks in arms. Oscar shakes the spear. The eagle wing of Philan floats on the wind. Dreadful is the clang of death. Many are the widows of Lochlin. Morven prevails in its strength. Morn glimmers on the hills. No living foe is seen, but the sleepers are many. Grim they lie on Erin. The breeze of the ocean lifts their locks, yet they do not awake. The hawks scream above their prey. Whose yellow locks wave o'er the breast of the chief? Bright is the gold of the stranger, they mingle with the dark hair of his friend. 'Tis Calmar, he lies on the bosom of Orla. Theirs is one stream of blood. Fierce is the look of the gloomy Orla. He breathes not, but his eye is still aflame. It glares in death unclosed. His hand is grasped in Calmar's, but Calmar lives. He lives, though low. Rise, said the king, rise, son of Mora. 'Tis mine to heal the wounds of heroes. Calmar may yet bound on the mountains of Morven. Never more shall Calmar chase the deer of Morven with Orla, said the hero. What were the chase to me alone? Who would share the spoils of battle with Calmar? Orla is at rest. Rough was thy soul, Orla, yet soft to me as the dew of morn. It glared on others in lightning, to me a silver beam of night. Bear my sword to blue-eyed Mora, let it hang in my empty hall. It is not pure from blood, but it could not save Orla. Lay me with my friend, raise the song when I am dark. They are laid by the stream of Lubar. 4 grey stones mark the dwelling of Orla and Calmar. When Swaran was bound, our sails rose on the blue waves. The winds gave our barks to Morven. The bards raised the song. What form rises on the roar of clouds, whose dark ghost gleams on the red stream of tempests? His voice rolls on the thunder. 'Tis Orla, the brown chief of Othona. He was unmatched in war. Peace to thy soul, Orla. Thy fame will not perish, nor thine, Calmar. Lovely wast thou, son of blue-eyed Mora, but not harmless was thy sword. It hangs in thy cave. The ghosts of Lochlin shriek around its steel. Hear thy praise, Calmar. It dwells on the voice of the mighty. Thy name shakes on the echoes of Morven. Then raise thy fair locks, son of Mora. Spread them on the arch of the rainbow, and smile through the tears of the storm. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
To E.N.L. Esquire by George Gordon, Lord Byron, read for LibriVox.org by Inkell. Nil ego contularium jucundo sanus amico. Host E. Dear L., in this sequestered scene, while all around in slumber lie the joyous days which ours have been, come rolling fresh on fancy's eye, thus if amidst the gathering storm, while clouds the darkened noon deform, yon heaven assumes a varied glow, I hail the sky's celestial bow, which spreads the sign of future peace, and bids the war of tempests cease. Ah, though the present brings but pain, I think those days may come again. Or if, in melancholy mood, some lurking envious fear intrude, to check my bosom's fondest thought, and interrupt the golden dream, I crush the fiend with malice fraught, and still indulge my wonted theme, although we ne'er again can trace in Granta's vale the pedant's lore, nor through the groves of Ida chase our raptured visions as before. Though youth has flown on rosy pinion, and manhood claims his stern dominion, age will not every hope destroy, but yield some hours of sober joy. Yes, I will hope that time's broad wing will shed around some dews of spring. But if his scythe must sweep the flowers which bloom among the fairy bowers, where smiling youth delights to dwell, and hearts with early rapture swell, if frowning age with cold control confines the current of the soul, congeals the tear of pity's eye, or checks the sympathetic sigh, or hears unmoved misfortune's groan, and bids me feel for self alone, oh, may my bosom never learn to soothe its wonted heedless flow, still despise the censor stern, but ne'er forget another's woe. Yes, as you know me in the days, o'er which remembrance yet delays, still may I rove untutored wild, and even in age at heart a child. Though now in airy visions born, to you my soul is still the same, oft has it been my fate to mourn, and all my former joys are tame. But hence, ye hours of sable hue, your frowns are gone, my sorrows o'er, by every bliss my childhood knew, I'll think upon your shade no more. Thus when the whirlwind's rage is past, and caves their sullen roaring close, we heed no more the wintry blast, when lulled by zephyr to repose. Full often has my infant muse attuned to love her languid lyre, but now, without the theme to chase, the strains in stolen sighs expire. My youthful nymphs, alas, are flown. E is a wife, and C a mother, and Carolina sighs alone, and Mary's given to another, and Cora's eye which rolled on me can now no more my love recall. In truth, dear L, 'twas time to flee, for Cora's eye will shine on all, and though the sun with genial rays his beams alike to all displays, and every lady's eye a sun, these last should be confined to one. The soul's meridian don't become her, whose sun displays a general summer. Thus faint is every form of flame, and passion's self is now a name, as when the ebbing flames are low, the aid which once improved their light, and bade them burn with fiercer glow, now quenches all their sparks in night. Thus has it been with passion's fires, as many a boy and girl remembers, while all the force of love expires, extinguished with the dying embers. But now, dear L, 'tis midnight's noon, and clouds obscure the watery moon, whose beauties I shall not rehearse, described in every stripling's verse. For why should I the path go o'er, which every bard has trod before, yet ere you silver lamp of night has thrice performed her stated round, has thrice retraced her path of light, and chased away the gloom profound, I trust that we, my gentle friend, shall see her rolling orbit wend above the dear loved peaceful seat, which once contained our youth's retreat, and now, with those our childhood knew, will mingle in the festive crew, while many a tale of former day shall wing the laughing hours away, and all the flow of soul shall pour the sacred intellectual shower, nor cease till Luna's waning horn scarce glimmers through the mist of morn. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Two by George Gordon, Lord Byron. Read for LibriVox.org by Alan Mapstone. Oh, had my fates been joined with thine, as once this pledge appeared a token, these follies had not then been mine, for then my peace had not been broken. To thee these early faults I owe, to thee the wise and old reproving. They know my sins, but do not know 'twas thine to break the bonds of loving. For once my soul like thine was pure, and all its rising fires could smother. But now thy vows no more endure, bestowed by thee upon another. Perhaps his peace I could destroy, and spoil the blisses that await him. Yet let my rival smile in joy, for thy dear sake I cannot hate him. Ah, since thy angel form is gone, my heart no more can rest with any, but what it sought in thee alone, attempts, alas, to find in many. Then fare thee well, deceitful maid, 'twere vain and fruitless to regret thee, nor hope nor memory yield their aid, but pride may teach me to forget thee. Yet all this giddy waste of years, this tiresome round of palling pleasures, these varied loves, these matrons' fears, these thoughtless strains to passion's measure. If thou wert mine, had all been hushed, this cheek now pale from early riot, with passions hectic ne'er had flushed, but bloomed in calm domestic quiet. Yes, once the rural scene was sweet, for nature seemed to smile before thee, and once my breast abhorred deceit, for then it beat but to adore thee. But now I seek for other joys, to think would drive my soul to madness. In thoughtless throngs and empty noise I conquer half my bosom's sadness. Yet even in these a thought will steal, in spite of every vain endeavour, and fiends might pity what I feel, to know that thou art lost for ever. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. End of Hours of Idleness by George Gordon, Lord Byron.